White. Wide open Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Wednesday, September 25th to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on a Wednesday. We are regularly scheduled to rock on Tuesdays, but I got sick. And had to reschedule, thus moving to Wednesdays, and my co-host, Troy Torrence, is unavailable on Wednesday night, so he couldn't shoot with us tonight. So he will be sorely missed. We love our guy, Troy Torrence, but we brought in a ringer. We brought in the Season 3 NFL Pub Hub champion, the Season 4 NFL Pub Hub leader, our friend from Kingston, Ontario, Kingston, Ontario, Canada, about to cap the entire NFL card with us, fresh off cashing the Panthers to be the lowest scoring team on Sunday in week 2 at 7.5 to 1, and then cashing them to be the highest scoring team in week 3 at 80 to 1 for $150, picking up a cool $12K. He's running real nice. And he's rocking with us all show long. Please welcome Birdie Betts to the program. Birdie, how are you, my friend?
Jimmy, I am, as they say, rolling. It's been a good start to the year. Seeing it pretty well. Excluding that banger last week, the picks have still been pretty good. The reads have been pretty solid. So excited to do this. This has been a bucket list thing for me. As you know, I've been bugging you for a couple of years. Just glad we're able to make it work. It's thankful Troy got busy and couldn't do it today, and I owe him one, I guess.
Well, you have earned your spot here on this show, Birdie. It's great to have you. Shout out to all the cappers joining us in the chat. We got the Clark Edge, Kongs Clips, Big O giving us a Chargers team total over 15.5. Clark Edge giving us Rams +3. Does not believe in the travel bullshit. Says line is 4 points off. Sammy Culmer in the house. Slatsy 45. UFU Wine Time Sports Coin. Harold Williams. TJ Parks. Dan Kelly. D Jenkins. G Martinez. Great to see all of you guys. Nutflush, Allen, Slatsy, Donut Silks, Dougie Wise, Oldie, Saturated. It was great to see all of you guys. Let's get right to work here. In review, last week did not go well for me. 3-5 minus 2.65 units. The two bets I made early on September 12th cashed easily. The Patriots, Jets under 39.5. Chargers, Steelers under 38.5. Cashed easily. What I moved on afterwards, Titans minus 2.5 was trash. The Eagles Saints over 49 was abysmal. San Francisco LA Rams under 43.5, bad. Falcons plus 3.5. I felt like it was right side. I still feel like it was right side. I'm okay going down with that one. Jaguars plus 5.5, horrific. Rams plus 6.5. Final bet of the week, gave a little bit of faith here. So disappointing. 23-25, 47.9% down 4.69 units. ROI minus 9.77%. Average line minus 110. But still in range. Everything's fine. We're 3 weeks in. A lot of season left to go. We got Al Cervic and now Penny Bomb's about to head out to Greece for a week. Have an incredible time. Spenny, it's nice to see you in the chat, my man. We got Ken Wood, Crystal Craig, Spenny dropping his action in the chat. And I also have Troy Torrance's action in the chat. Week 3, I know you weren't official here on the show, but how, other than the 12K banger, which was spectacular, how was the week for you? Was it one of your stronger weeks of the 3 that have happened so far this year?
It's a small week. I didn't do well on the show. I don't like week 3 particularly. I find it the hardest week to cap. So I just had a very small week. So it worked out okay. I haven't had a losing week yet on bets And I'm over 100 units already if you factor in the bangers. So after 3 weeks, I can't be too upset.
Well, I am very much looking forward to Cap the Card with you and all of these great cappers in the chat. I'll copy and paste Spenny Bomb's action as well. Spenny, thank you for sharing it with us. And it is time to get to work. We start Thursday, September 26th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. And we have the Dallas Cowboys 1-2, 1-0 on the road at the New York Giants 1-2, 0-1 at home, MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. A lot of these spots on Thursday and on Sunday on the East Coast have showers. It's not full rain. It's just showers. That could mean rain, that could mean nothing. We really got to keep an eye on things, not get too caught up in the showers that are represented at this point weather-wise. In this one, in Cowboys Giants, it's supposed to rain in the second half of the game. I mean, how much of that do you want to trust? Now it's getting a little closer, so we can trust it more and more. It's not supposed to be raining at kickoff. It's something that we definitely need to keep an eye on. I have moved on the over 45 in Cowboys Giants, and I have my first SGP of the season, same game parlay of the season. The SGP is simple. I took the Cowboys money line. I'm not going to tweet this out. This is for people to watch the show and for our live stream on Thursday night. I took the Cowboys money line. I took the over 42.5. And I took CeeDee Lamb for a touchdown and CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards. I liked him apologizing for his actions. I liked what we saw last year when he sulked on the field. It was against the 49ers in that huge loss. He sulked on the field. He was visibly upset. He was not a team player. He called himself out. He apologized afterwards, and he went on a monster run throughout the rest of the season. So that's my SGP. It's already bet, and I'm on the over 45 as well. Let's break this one down. Let's get into the line history and the cash flow. Line history wise, this is a 5.5. Giants are 5.5 point dogs. It's different from last week as the market was moving towards the Giants and they were slightly bigger dogs at opening. This time they were a 5, and this has moved to 5.5. It kind of feels like this will end up at a 6. We'll have to see. These are pinnacle line moves. From a total side of things, we have a 45.5, and this is juiced to the under at -109. This opened up at 43.5. I got in late. I got the show's a day late, dealing with the sickness. I'm a little late on some of these market moves, and this is one of them. Let's talk about the Cowboys. Oh, first, we have the cash flow up finally as well. 83% of the tickets and 88% of the cash is on the Dallas Cowboys at this point, with 57,000 tickets in. 64% of the tickets and 64% of cash is on the over. Cowboys red zone offense through 3 games is 15th in the league, converting it 50% of the time. Their red zone defense has been horrific. And Birdie, you can touch on how much of these, is this enough of a sample size? I felt it's enough of a sample size to begin discussing it. How much should we dive into a 3-game sample size? But this red zone defense for the Dallas Cowboys is the worst in the NFL after 3 games. They're allowing scores, touchdowns on 90% of opponent red zone drives. Their third down offense, 9th in the league, 42.5% conversion rate. Their third down defense is stopping opponents 15th at 34.4%. The Cowboys came in off their second straight loss, 28-25 at home to the Ravens. They were down 28-6 until a late Cowboy comeback over the final 9 minutes. Dak, 28 of 51 for 379 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jake Ferguson returned from that 1-game injury absence, 6 catches for 95 yards. He's a big piece. And CeeDee Lamb caught 4 passes for 67 yards, lost a fumble. We already talked about it. Was clearly unhappy. Didn't talk to reporters after the loss. We saw him in a sideline argument with Dak. Yesterday, he was apologetic for his performance and sideline behavior. I expect him to bounce back. Problem is their running game failed them again, and their running game is going to fail them all year long. The Cowboys combined for 16 carries with 51 yards and 1 touchdown, while the Ravens running game destroyed the Cowboys. Ravens ran 45 times for 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran the ball down their throat. Cowboys defense could do nothing to stop it. The Cowboys are unable to establish a running game. They still have a strong offense thanks to their passing attack. So it's not like they're leaving their defense on the field for way too long, although that was the case in the Ravens game. They put up 412 total yards without a running game. That's impressive. 7 of 13 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone, but their defense looked bad. 0 tackles. Zero sacks, I should say. 0 sacks. And Brady, the one thing that caught my attention was 0 tackles for a loss. The Ravens ran the ball 45 times. Not once in 45 times did the Cowboys manage to stop the Ravens for a loss, a tackle for a loss. That is surprising. Is the Giants' running game, and this is a question for you, Bertie, when I hand it over to you, is the Giants' running game so weak that they can't take advantage of the Cowboys' weak spot, which is a legit possibility here? The Ravens averaged 7.6 yards per play versus the Cowboys and were 3 of 3 in the red zone. The Cowboys have allowed 120 points in their past 3 home games. That includes that 48-32 wildcard loss to Green Bay. But this isn't at home. We don't need to talk about that. Cowboy safety Marquise Bell injured an ankle in the first half and didn't return. He was a non-participant at practice so far this week. So is cornerback Kalen Carson, who's dealing with a shoulder injury. They've already started out the year without cornerback Deron Bland, who began the year on IR. I want to start with the Cowboys, and I don't want to open up our first game by talking for too long, which I feel like I already have. So let's talk about the Cowboys, your thoughts on them, and if you would like to lead into the Giants, that works as well. Take it away for us, Bertie, your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys, a 5.5-point road favorite on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, it's been a tale of 2 defenses for sure. They haven't played like they played against the Browns in week 1, that's for sure. It does seem like they struggle against stopping the run. I don't think that's 2 games in a row that they lost, that they just gave up tons of ground in the rushing game. That's got to get cleaned up, but maybe they're just not physical enough up front versus those power running teams, and that could be very legitimate. I think you're okay with your thought on the struggle in the red zone. I mean, it is what it is. You have to stop it, or else it's going to be an issue for you all year. But I wonder if it correlates with these power rushing teams and kind of the fact that they're struggling at the line of scrimmage, getting contact, early contact, and these guys are just running all over them. So I think there's validity, but I also think the matchup matters. And I think that definitely is something for this game. Styles make fights. And what's interesting too about Dak is Dak leads the league in PFF grades versus pressure. And unfortunately for the Giants, they're good up front, and they need to get pressure and they need to get sacks in order to protect that secondary, which isn't very good. And then unfortunately in this case for the Giants is you're playing right into the strength of Dak. Like you're going to pressure him. He's going to light you up. I just think this is just a bad spot for the Giants in general on how they have to play defense. And the Cowboys coming off 2 really bad losses kind of do get a breath in the running game, but the Giants running game isn't bad. Singletary's done fairly well. I think probably the biggest hurdle for the Giants here is not getting behind early, because if you get behind early, it kind of takes away that running game. And then if you let that Dallas front attack, which we do know they can attack and be very effective, that doesn't probably bode well for the Giants offense in this game. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. I also like the fact that Dallas is coming off those 2 really bad losses and 2 really bad defensive losses too. Like they got embarrassed, and what a great way to get right than to play the team you've just pounded for the last 10 years probably, and just dominated them to get right, especially on offense. I mean, if the Cowboys defense is going to struggle, this offense has to get first downs, they have to control the clock, and they have to score points. And I think they'll do that today against the Cowboys. I do have a few picks in this game. So I've got the Cowboys at 4.5, but I still like it at 5.5. If there's a 5.5 left, I'll definitely take the Cowboys at 5.5. I'm with you on the CD over 81.5 passing yards. I'm with you. I think the fact that he went public today and apologized for his antics on the sideline, you don't see that with a lot of these wide receivers. They tend to just escalate, and the snowball keeps going until it gets so far out of control they ask to leave, like Diggs. And the last one, and this will be my we'll call it the banger pod pick because I have to give one out, I think. And it's something that I've bet already that I think could probably happen in this game and happened 2 games ago. Is I like Dak with 4 passing TDs at plus at 10-1.
4 passing TDs at 10-1. Birdie on the Cowboys minus 5.5. CD Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards. Is we talked about that's part of my first SGP of the season. I made it a point to only bet them when I moved to bet them. This isn't for fun. We're not doing this recreationally. And I started doing it. I had some fun with them last year, and this is serious. And so I only want to bet them when I moved on them. A lot of interesting stuff coming from the chat that I want to talk about, but I want to talk more about the Giants and then ask you finally about this total, of which I'm on the over 45. The Giants' red zone offense is 10th in the league, cashing at 60%. The red zone defense is tied for 7th, only allowing touchdowns 33.3%. I like the Giants coaching. I don't think that is.
I'm not on the same page there.
No, I feel you. Not a lot of people aren't. Not a lot of people are. I trust what Daboll does offensively, and defensively there have been issues with the Giants, and that's why they keep bringing in new defensive coordinators. So there's obviously problems there. But I do trust Daboll and think that he gets the most out of the football teams that he coaches, and that the problem with the New York Giants is managerial. The player personnel decisions have been porous, and there's often talk about you have to be really bad to be good, and that fact that the Giants got off to the great start in the Daboll era, has held them back. It was covering flaws that were clearly there through fortunate scheduling and good coaching. But we can talk more about the total, because that's really what I want to touch on. And I want to touch on what happened with the Giants last week. So their third down offense, 17th in the league at 37.5%. Their third down defense is 20th in the league, 36.8%. They were one of the 0-2 football teams that stepped up in a big way last week, winning 21-15 on the road at Cleveland. In game 3, we talk about the teams that are 0-2 covering the spread 65% of the time, how I probably should have just taken all of them, but the teams that stepped up, I think, are still playing for their coach. The teams that fell apart maybe don't want to be in the room. And we can talk about those teams as we move on. Danny Jones, 24-34 for 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also ran 8 times for 20 yards. And he completed 12 passes in a row at one point. Goff completed 14 passes in a row at one point. It's important early in the game to show that you're capable of completing passes in a row, getting a rhythm in the offense. And it's all Malik Neighbors. Another strong game, 8 catches, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. At 21 years, 56 days, he became the youngest wide receiver in NFL history to have 2 TD receptions. Wan'Dale Robinson caught 7 passes for 61 yards. And Singletary, I still don't know if he is a quality running back. I've never known. He looked pretty good, 16 carries, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. He caught 4 passes for 43 yards. He did lose a fumble. He does have butterfingers at times. The offense went 3 for 4 in the red zone. Like you said, the pass rush was dynamite. They finished with 8 sacks and 17 quarterback hits. They forced 2 Deshaun Watson fumbles. But the Browns' offensive line is in horrible, horrible shape. We're talking falling apart right now. And so that, obviously played a role in that. The defense held the Browns to just 217 yards, just 3.4 yards per play. Drew Phillips, cornerback, calf, went out in the first, and cornerback Adoree Jackson with a calf injury got hurt in the third quarter. Neither of them have practiced with this week. All Daboll had said as of this morning was they're not expected to land on IR. He also thinks that Nick McLeod, who's missed the first 2 games with a knee injury, could return tomorrow night. Inside linebacker McFadden went off early in the 4th, and Slayton also got hurt, but they've been limited participants at practice and are expected to play. So, Birdie, I'm on the over 45. If you had a free bet on the total, would you be going over this total? Do you agree with the market move towards the over?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way I could bet an under in this spot. The Dallas has just destroyed Giants, like just destroyed them offensively. Like I don't know what changes here. So the only way you can look in this game is the over. I'm just not necessarily a totals guy. I do have a few totals here, so I'd like to help you a little more in the totals. But for sure, the only way I would look in this game is to the over. because again, Dallas has just destroyed the Giants offensively, just destroyed them. So I don't know what changes in this game.
Chosen One saying he's liking that over. Joseph Thompson on that over as well. Let's review our Thursday nighter. Birdie on the Cowboys -5.5. He's on CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards. His banger play of the day after cashing an 80-1 last week. And we're not talking $10 on it. $150 paid 12 plus K was the Panthers to be the highest scoring team on Sunday. The banger play today here is Dak 4 passing touchdowns at 10-1. All I have is the over 45, but I also have the same game parlay, and we'll be moving live on our live stream. That is the Thursday nighter. It's great to see all of you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We move on to Sunday action, and we start September 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern with the New Orleans Saints, 2-1, 1-0 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 1-2, 0-2 at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have this total at 41.5 at Pinnacle. It's juiced to the over. It opened up at 43.5. It dropped down to 41.5. It is now sort of a 42. We can call it a 1.5 move towards the under. And on the spread, we have Atlanta now a -2.5. They're only showing the -1 here at Pinnacle, but it's -125. So it's obviously probably a legitimate 2.5 here as well. If we're just using the -1, we have a 16-cent move towards the Atlanta Falcons. So whether it's a 2 or a 2.5, this opened up at a pick'em. There's a big move to the Falcons here. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one. Cash flow wise, get over here. We have 89% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the Saints. That's wild to see this line move towards the Falcons so quickly. Even on the money line, it's 52% of the tickets and 86% of the cash on the Saints. And we've seen this move towards the Falcons. 38% of the tickets and 60% of the cash on the under. Looks like big business on the under, and yet this total has climbed. So the market welcoming any cash coming in on the Saints and coming in on the under. Talk about the Saints first. Red zone offense tied for second in the league at 75%. Red zone defense third at 25%. Special teams, everything working. Sorry, special teams not right, but everything working for the Saints at this point until, of course, they face the Eagles. Third down offense is second in the league at 52.9%. Third down defense 17th at 35.1%. Yes, they came back to earth in that 15-12 home loss versus the Eagles. The offense has scored 91 points in the previous two games, put up 12 first downs and 219 total yards. They were outgained 460 to 219. Derek Carr just 14 of 25 for 142 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Olave caught 6 for 86. Kamara 26 carries for 87 yards, caught 3 passes for 40. It takes something out of the offense when you lose Taysom Hill. He was ruled out just 2 hours before kickoff. Eric McCoy, their center, limped off the field with a left groin injury on the game's opening possession. That must have been a huge part of the struggles. He now needs surgery. He's expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks. The Saints defense bent but didn't break. Eagles put up 460 yards, but 15 points. Pass rush was strong, 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and the Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu had 7 tackles, 1 for a loss and an interception, and they held the Eagles to 1-3 in the red zone. Then we have these Falcons. Red zone offense tied for 21st, 44.4%. Red zone defense, 11th, 36.4%. Their third down offense and defense are bad. Third down offense, 29th in the league. They're converting third downs 22.2% of the time. Their third down defense, 26th in the league. They're allowing first downs on third down 45.5% of the time. Falcons coming off that tough 22-17 loss at home to the Chiefs. That one really stung. Cousins was 28-29 for 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Drake London caught 6 for 67 in a touchdown. Darnell Mooney caught 8 for 66 yards. Kyle Pitts caught 2 for 59. Bijan Robinson was held to 31 yards on 16 carries, but he did score a touchdown. The offense was just 2 of 9 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. I mean, we could all see the penalty there on that third down. It's easy for us to see it with the cameras and the slow-mo, and tougher to make the call on the field. But the offensive line got hurt badly in that game. They lost their center, Drew Dahlman. They lost their right tackle, Caleb McGarry, during the game. McGarry suffered an MCL sprain. He's being placed on IR. Dahlman, McGarry suffered the MCL sprain. They haven't placed him on IR yet. At least they hadn't this morning, but he's not playing this week. And Dahlman has been placed on IR with an ankle injury. So that's 2 big losses moving forward. The defense was strong. They held the Chiefs to just 4.8 yards per play. They're a team that can be counted on. I do believe so. Even with Cousins back there, I think they can be counted on offensively. I think they're a good football team. Held the Chiefs to 6 of 14 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. Now, the pass rush didn't record a sack, but they got 7 quarterback hits. And when it comes down to it, that's all I want. I just want to see the quarterback take hits. It doesn't have to be a sack. I just think that damage will pay a cost to the quarterback in the long run of the game. Justin Simmons had an interception. Take it away for us here, Birdie. Feels like the Falcons are the sharp play. What's your plan for Saints Falcons?
It's too many injuries in this game for me to get involved with at like today on a Wednesday. I think probably what I'll do is just monitor throughout the week and see if the books take a side. I think we're kind of seeing that now with all like the way the money's shaping up and the way this line is moving. But I think I'll probably wait to Sunday to probably get involved in this game. I mean, when you lose offensive linemen and then lose your center, that's a big deal for the Saints. I mean, all things being equal, the Saints are the better team here, no question. I would find it very difficult to make a bet on the side in this game, given all these injuries. I think probably the best approach is just to let the market play out till Sunday, see what the books are telling us, where the money is, what the line's doing, and then make an educated decision then if you want to get involved. But I have really not much to say about this one. There's just way too many injuries.
And both teams missing their starting center because Dahlman out as well.
And that's why you're seeing the under, right? Is whenever you get those cluster offensive line, they hit the under like to death. It's because it's hard to get offense when defenses can pressure against second, third, and fourth string offensive linemen. So the under is probably the best look in this game.
Dougie Wise on the Falcons -2.5. Al Cervix says, I want the Falcons. I was close. I was so close. Off that bad loss. Want the Falcons off that bad loss. Harold Williams leaning towards Atlanta. Blue numbers looking at New Orleans. Chosen one on the under 42.5. Spenny Penny Bombs on the Falcons. Kent Davies on the Saints. That's where we stand. Proof Bet says the SGP Falcons team total over 21.5. Saints team total under 20.5. That's at plus 225. And Jared TG says, I'm not touching this game with those O-line injuries. Say what, my man?
Sorry. If this line doesn't come down, then for sure the Falcons are the play because they're just taking Saints money at will. If this line doesn't drop, then I wouldn't be on the Saints here at all.
One of the interesting things about doing this on Wednesday night is limits have been lifted mostly. Tuesday night, they haven't been. So that is one difference about doing the show on Wednesday. I think with the numbers still here, I try so hard not to make a bet solely based on market. But this one, I find...
Well, on Wednesday, I mean, if you wait till Sunday, you've got the full picture. And then when Sunday limits do go up again, they're max at that point.
Yeah.
And then you get a really good idea if a book's taken a side or if they're trying to even up money. Sunday's the time to go on a market move, not on a Wednesday, in my opinion.
I hear that. Right now, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on the Falcons here.
I would say Hill's also very important here, Jimmy. If Hill plays for the Saints, they probably have a bit of value here at 2.5. But if Hill's out, for sure, probably stay away from the Saints. But I think probably what a lot of guys are waiting for. I know we practiced today, limited, I think I saw. But if he gets announced in, I think you'll see that line move.
There we go. That is our first one on Sunday. Thank you guys for joining us. We have our 2023 Pub Hub champion and 2024 Pub Hub leader, Birdie Betts, joining us as our co-host of the show. Troy Torrence is unavailable tonight with the scheduling change It is great to have you, Birdie. Let's roll into the next game on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Rams 1-2, 0-2 on the road. The Chicago Bears 1-2, 1-0 at home. We're at Soldier Field, Chicago, Illinois. A lot of these games, have chance of showers or showers. Very, very important that we keep a close eye on that as we move forward throughout the week. 70 Fahrenheit, chance of showers, 7 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We'll start with this total. This total's at 40.5 minus 115 to the over. You see a lot of 41s. Pinnacle is basically a 41, but they've got 40.5 listed, which means there's been a 9-cent move towards the over. Getting to the point spread for this one. We have this spread sitting at -3 at -107. This opened up at -1.5, and it moved to -3. I felt guilty. I felt this sickness robbed me of being on the Bears under the field goal, and that's okay. At that point, I've lost what I've lost. I want to talk it out first before I decide if I'm still going to move on it. So I haven't moved on it. 24% of the tickets and 20% of the cash on the Bears. We've seen them go from 1.5 to a 3. On the money line, there's 53% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the Rams. And, this line is moving real steadily towards the Bears. There's 67% of tickets and 59% of cash on the over. And what did we see again there? I'm moving so quickly. Let me just go over that one last time. I know it's at a 41.5. Oh, yeah, we had 9 cents of movement to the over. Okay, let's roll. Rams, red zone offense, 20th in the league at 46.2%. Red zone defense, 24th in the league at 63.6%. I think that red zone offense will continue to slip without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I think it's a pretty easy thing to say. Their third down offense will continue to struggle as well. 22nd in the league, 34.3%. Their third down defense is 31st in the league at 54.3%. The Rams coming off an impressive 27-24 win at home over the 49ers. It was a very important bounce back from a team that had just lost 41-10 at Arizona in week 2. It allowed the Rams to avoid their first 0-3 start in the entire McVay era. Big Mastro in the house. Great to see you. Says this is a Bears smash spot. Rams off the huge win. This is a flat spot. Penny Bomb says Caleb needs to limit them turnovers, but he threw it around better. Rams secondary is ass. Sammy Comer says Caleb and Eberflus favorites over McVay and Stafford. Laugh out loud. No, that is absolutely true. Look, I took the Rams plus 6.5 only because of McVay. I have enormous respect for him as a coach. The 49ers outgained the Rams 425-296. The Rams came back from a 10-point deficit late in the fourth quarter. They outscored the Niners 22-3 over the final 19 minutes. That matched the biggest second-half comeback victory for the franchise since 2006. Stafford was 16 of 25 for 221 yards and a touchdown. With Kupp and Nacua injured, Tutu Atwell stepped up, caught 4 passes for 93 yards. Stafford didn't complete a pass until Atwell made a running catch with 8 minutes left in the first half. I want to fade this football team with their cluster of injuries, a term that you often use, Birdie, on the offensive line. The makeshift offensive line had a strong game. And Kyron Williams was strong, 24 carries for 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also caught 2 for 27. Rams were 5 of 12 on third down, 3 of 5 in the red zone. The defense bent but didn't break. Allowed the 49ers to go 6 of 11 on third down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. But they stiffened up when it mattered most. They allowed 3 points in the fourth quarter. The pass rush again struggled. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. And for the first time after 2 real tough games, they didn't report any injuries after the game. For these Bears, and look, I'm not running to get to the window for the Bears. I don't. This isn't what I want to be doing. Their red zone offense tied for 10th at 60%, defense 19th at 57.1%. Their third down offense just 23rd at 23.3%, but their third down defense is second in the league at 25%. And it's the Bears defense that's the biggest plus in this game. And I can't get past. I keep coming back to this Bears defense. Bears coming off a 21-16 loss at the Colts. Caleb was 33 for 52 for 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also lost a fumble. Look, 363 yards is a lot of passing yards for an offense that only puts up 16 points. The Bears running game didn't help and hasn't been helping. They averaged just 2.3 yards per carry. Rome Odunze had his first big game in the NFL, caught 6 for 112 and a touchdown. We're going to see a lot more of that in his future. Bright future. Cole Kmet caught 10 for 97 and a touchdown. DJ Moore caught 8 for 78. And DJ Moore is a big reason why Odunze can shine, because DJ Moore gets a lot of attention. Bears had 18 passing first downs. The Colts got 4. 4. This Bears defense is for real. Bears were 9-21 on third down, 4-5 on fourth. Helped them hold the ball for 35 minutes. The defense was again strong. Held the Colts to 3-12 on third down. Jalen Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds each had interceptions. Montez Sweat had the lone sack. Bears only had 3 quarterback hits. Right guard Nate Davis and receiver Keenan Allen were not active. Keenan Allen is not, this plantar fasciitis has been a problem for him since late 2023. It's a real problem. So I don't expect him back anytime soon. Maybe other people have information on that. Terrell Smith did not return, their cornerback. He's day-to-day with a hip injury. I want the Bears. Birdie, take it away. Rams, Bears, Soldier Field. What's your move?
And again, there won't be anything for me. I just think there's better spots. So the Bears have to win, right? One team that started 0-4 in the entire NFL history has ever made the playoffs. So these 0-3 teams have to really step up, or else their season's basically done.
Bears got a W. Their Bears are undefeated at home.
Did they get? Who'd they be? Oh yeah, they won week 1, didn't they? Against the Texans.
Won week 1. Yeah.
Oh yeah, pardon me. Okay. Yeah. So again, I kind of agree with the chat. This is kind of a really bad spot for the Rams. Normally, early on, I don't put much credence into short rest. I mean, or extra rest, like all that stuff doesn't matter to me very much early on in the year. But I think the short rest does affect the Rams here because they are so injured, because they're so depleted. They're in their second and third strings in a lot of positions. So I think being on the short rest will hurt them here and traveling east. I mean, for me, it's just I can't get past that you have a McVay versus an Eberflus game here. Even though Eberflus is an elite defensive coordinator, I struggle with his in-game management. And as far as where I would caution you on Williams based off last week, Gus Bradley plays that high cover too. So he like, you can throw 10 yards on the Colts. You're going to give that to you the whole way and then just try to stop you in the red zone. So you're going to see probably a lot of quarterbacks get decent yardage and good completion percentages against that Colts defense. And so I would caution a little bit, kind of reading that Williams had a good week. I think it could have been more of the defenses he was seeing, but still a plus that he was making the throws. I mean, the only way you can look in this game is the Bears. Again, I'll let this one percolate through the week, and then I'll look back Sunday and see if there's a story being told here. But it does seem like the Bears are probably the right side here. And I would think at some point this line's got to move back just based off the money. So probably you're getting a better number if you wait. If you like the Bears on Sunday, I can't see this hitting a 3 because every show I've watched, every sharp I've listened to or talking head, they're all loving the Rams. So at some point you're getting a better number if that's important to you.
It's important, very important. But at this point right now, it's 3s across the entire board. Every single board is showing a 3 right now. Really? So there's a 0%. I shouldn't say 0, but I don't think there's any chance that it goes to 3.5. So
shouldn't, but who knows?
But so then the only possible move at this point would be back to 2.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the Bears at 3. That's for sure. I either wait until you get under that 3 or just move on to something better.
So you don't feel like this is a huge letdown spot and the 49ers are not the vividness bias that we all have in our head 49ers?
Oh, absolutely. This is a massive letdown spot for the Rams. Absolutely. For me, it comes down to, do you trust Caleb Williams? I mean, yeah, he had a decent game last week against a defense that allows for, with that cover 2, pass completion, a high completion percentage in yards. But those other 2 games, he was ass. And I mean, I'm not going to put my money on a guy that I want to know that he can play. I know Jalen Daniels can make is a playmaker. I've seen him make plays now. I can't say that about Caleb Williams. And I don't care if this is the biggest letdown spot in the world with that quarterback for the Bears. I'm not going to expect that man to cover a 3-point spread. Covering spreads in the NFL is fucking difficult. And I mean, I couldn't put my money on Caleb Williams to cover a 3-point spread. That's for sure.
Oh, that's a very, very legitimate comment. A very, very legitimate comment. And, Donut Silk says, love the Bears, but can't trust them. I think that's basically what a lot of people are feeling. Big O says, Jimmy, a part of that Bears defense stats were because Richardson was hot garbage. Al Cervix says, Bears D is why I was interested. I do think they figure out some run game to protect this kid. Just because this is a play close to me, is this Bears running game just bottom 10 in the league and not going to be able to ever take pressure off of Caleb all season long? Is that what we're dealing with Swift and Rashawn Johnson and Herbert? Is that just a bottom 10 running game that won't take pressure off of Caleb Williams?
Well, Swift's been a joke. I've watched him play a lot, and he won't hit the middle of a defense. It's always east west. He gets to the line of scrimmage if he's lucky, or he loses a yard. They got to move on. I mean, sometimes you just got to realize you made a bad decision. No, they're paying him a lot of money, but they got some guys that could pound in that running game. Why they're not using those guys, I know why they're not, because they paid Swift all this money. But my God, I would move on if they make the choice to move on this week. Bears might be a good play because they have guys in that backfield that can hit the ball and run north-south, and that's exactly what Williams needs. I mean, they don't need a perimeter running game. They need someone that's going to hit the holes, especially that offensive line, because it's not the greatest offensive line in the world, and the easiest thing to do is rush block gaps. So if they can just get a running back that can run through the gap, it will give them a good chance. But I just don't see it. I just don't see Eberflus making that tough decision.
Saturated, in Illinois, he says Roschon is getting the ball this week. Rob McMahon says Swift is by far the worst back in the league. I mean, maybe that's a little much, but I hear Jared TG saying Swift one of the worst running backs in the league, always has been. Wow, says the Philly blocking fooled people into thinking he had changed. Wow.
Well, that's it, right? It's all about scheme. If you're in the wrong scheme, I don't care who you are, you're going to struggle. And this is definitely the wrong scheme for Swift. And shame on the Bears for not understanding that.
I am very interested in the Bears. I'm very interested in the Bears, but I will heed your advice at this point and wait and see. We roll on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern with the Minnesota Vikings 3-0, 1-0 on the road at the Green Bay Packers 2-1, 1-0 at home at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Another situation where we're dealing with showers. 71 Fahrenheit showers, 8 miles per hour. So you got to keep an eye on what's going on weather-wise, because that could be rain and that could be nothing. Let's get into the line history here. I love this matchup, this storied matchup. Right now, over at Pinnacle, we have a -2.5 for the Green Bay Packers. -2.5 for the Green Bay Packers. This opened up at -3 to even money. The +3 for the Vikings opened up -116. It got up to -133. This 2.5 is juiced to the Packers heavy. If you want the 3, it's juiced to the Vikings heavy. That's the situation. There really hasn't been much movement. From a total side of things, we have a 43.5 juice to the over at -115. Opened up at -108. We've had 7 cents of movement to the over at -115. From a cash flow scenario here, we have 19% of the tickets and 37% of the cash on the Green Bay Packers on the spread. On the money line, it's the opposite. It's the dog being bet. Or the bigger bets coming in on the dog, because obviously the public is on 81% of the tickets are on the Vikings +2.5, but just 63% of cash. On the money lines, 57% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on the Minnesota Vikings. We have 65% of tickets and 55% of cash on the over. Great to see you, Ron Crawford. Thank you for joining us. Great call on the play of the day last week, being the Philadelphia Eagles here on this show. Clark Edge says 71% of Vikings on DraftKings is a shady line. Mitch Fearing says the Vikings always struggle in Green Bay, and that's only because Green Bay O-line holds on every damn play, and the refs never call it. I like it, Mitch. Gordon Kofsky says Vikings or nothing. Al Cervic says this Vikes D is this year's big nasty. And Al Cervic says I'm not fading Flores D, especially if it is Willis. Jared TG says I'm really interested in this game. Would you say that the Packers are favored strictly because of home field? Is this a pick 'em on a neutral site? Talk about the Vikings first. Red zone offense, 7th in the league at 70%. Red zone defense tied for 7th in the league, allowing touchdowns 33.3% of the time. I mean, that's where the wins and losses happen, man. Are you scoring touchdowns and keeping them from scoring touchdowns? And then you win football games. Third down offense, 3rd in the league at 45.7%. Wow. Third down defense, 10th in the league, 31%, allowing first downs 31% of the time. Everything you look at statistically, the Vikings are rolling. Undefeated, coming off a dominant 34-7 victory at home over the Texans. Their biggest winning margin in 5 years. Darnold was 17-28 for 181 yards and 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Justin Jefferson caught 6 for 81 and a touchdown. Aaron Jones ran 19 times for 102 yards, caught 5 passes for 46 yards and 1 touchdown, and now he comes back to Lambeau Field. What a revenge situation for Jones, possibly. The offense only had 274 total yards. 274 total yards, put up 34 points. Execution. They were 6-13 on third down and an impressive 4-5 in the red zone. The defense was very strong. Didn't allow a single rushing first down. Now, we knew the Texans were playing without, Mix and Pierce. They're 1-2s, but that's still impressive. Held the Texans just 4-14 on third down, 1-2 in the red zone. Greenard had a monster game. 3 of the Vikings, 5 sacks. Grugier Hill and Cameron Bynum each had interceptions. Jordan Addison, inactive. O'Connell said that he's optimistic that Addison will play this Sunday in Green Bay. Let's roll on to these Packers. Red zone offense, 29th in the league at 30%. No Jordan Love. Tough to get 7 in the red zone. Red zone defense, 21st in the league at 60%. Third down offense, 8th in the league at 42.9%. Third down defense, 6th in the league at 28.1%. Packers coming off yet another impressive Malik Willis-led victory, 30-14 at Tennessee. Willis finished 13-19 for 202 yards and a touchdown, ran 6 times for 73 yards touchdown. As a team, it wasn't the 53 runs or whatever it was from 2 weeks ago, but 37 carries for 188 yards. Christian Watson caught 2 for 67, and Emmanuel Wilson, he ran twice for 50 yards. I think it was more. Was it just twice? That's what I have in my notes. He ran and caught 2 passes for 35 yards and a touchdown. I thought Emmanuel Wilson, I want to say 12 times. I think I missed a 1 there in my notes. The defense was very strong. Held the Titans to just 237 yards and just 33 on the ground. The pass rush was excellent. The Packers finished with 8 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. That 8 sacks was their most since 2005. Got interceptions from Jair Alexander and Xavier McKinney. What a pickup McKinney was. What a hole in the Giants secondary, McKinney not being there. Alexander returned his 35 yards for a score. That was his first interception return for a touchdown. Packers have 7 picks through 3 games, 7 interceptions through 3 games. That was their entire total from 2023. Is the secondary that much improved with McKinney in it? I'd love you to touch on that, Birdie. Held the Titans to just 3 of 9 on third down. And LaFleur said Monday that Love will be limited in practice this week. Take it away for us, Birdie. Vikings, Packers at Lambeau.
Yeah, this is going to be a beauty. You got to really love what the Vikings have done to start the year. There isn't a team, well, maybe the Bills kind of firing on all cylinders like they are right now. That win last week against the Texans is probably the most complete game from a team we may see this entire season. You got to give them full credit. Like, they just put it on the Texans. This game's a bit interesting. So I have a Minnesota +3 in my pocket from earlier. Still kind of like the Vikings here, but this is a tough one today, just strictly because we don't know the status of Love. So I think if Love gets ruled in, you're going to see this line spike to probably 3.5, 4. I know that probably sounds weird, but that's probably what's going to happen. And if they announce Willis, then I think you probably see a pick 'em here at the end. So that +3 or even a +2.5 today, if you like minis, not a bad idea. But gosh, what the Packers are in a predicament here. I've watched a lot of Packers games, and the way they've looked on offense, especially last week, I don't think I've seen a Packers offense look that good. Sometimes we get caught up in a quarterback and throwing for bombs, and they're doing kind of funny things and crazy things with the wide receivers. But I'll tell you what, this LaFleur offense with Willis at quarterback, it's got to be respected, and I don't think it's fake. They looked really good last week, and the Packers. Funny how your defense can improve when you have a really good run game, and you can keep them off the field for big extended periods of time and keep them fresh. It's hard for the other team to get in rhythm offensively, and when you're getting any sort of pass rush like they did last week, that really helps with the secondary. I didn't bump Green Bay up at much off that win because you can't, because this is Jordan Love's team. So I'm sticking with my Jordan Love priors, and I'm not as high on the Jordan Love Packers as most people are. So I really, like I said it right from the beginning of the year, I felt like the Vikings were the second best team in this division. And gosh, the way they're going, those Lions Vikings games are going to be pretty exciting coming up. And I mean, let's face it, we've got a 3-0 team and a 2-1 team in a division game in week 4. And that doesn't sound like a very big deal because we're so early in the year. But if you're the Vikings and you can get the 4-0, like your odds of making the playoffs are drastically increased because you've got that win over the Packers and for the division. So this is sneakily a good game. But there are some situational things in this stuff you should be aware of. I don't like betting on a team that's heading to Europe the next week. We have that with the Vikings here. I'm kind of hoping that it's the Packers that the week prep and going to Europe hasn't taken over their mind. So I'm a little concerned about that in this spot. But I think probably the Vikings are the look. To me, I'd wait. I'd wait to figure out what Love's doing. I'm okay with the +3, even if Love comes in and I miss. I'll just bet it again at 4.5, if I choose to. But I think you really do got to kind of wait to see what's happening with Love here. But I will say, if Levis is starting this game, I'd be more apt to come in on the Packers probably when this line drops, because I really, really do like what they're doing on offense with Willis in that run game. And I don't see that stopping against the Vikings D. That has been good, but they're pressure oriented. So you throw a power run at them. We haven't really seen how they'll adapt to that. So if Willis is playing, I lean Packers. If Love is playing, I'm all over the Vikings.
Interesting. The +3 available at -121. I haven't quite heard the angle of finding the Packers more appealing with Willis at quarterback, but you know what? It rings true. I think there's a lot that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Wow. I
Yeah,
like it.
and I should probably touch on one more thing because it's important to me. Aaron Jones coming back to Green Bay is significant. I mean, essentially, Green Bay said, "We don't believe in you. We don't want you." And the next day they went and signed another guy at monster amounts of money that arguably you could say perhaps is not as good as Aaron Jones. So I mean the motivation this guy's got to come in, and I don't know if you saw the letter he wrote to Green Bay today. It was on Facebook. It was a great letter. Great letter. I highly recommend reading it. I mean, when you have a player of Jones's caliber coming back and is motivated to kind of answer back, if you will. Because I mean, when a team tells you to screw off, you really don't have much say in the matter in the moment. So this is his opportunity to say, well, maybe you made a mistake. And I mean, Jacobs has done well with Willis. I still don't believe Jacob does well in a Love offense, because this offense does change when Love comes in, because you're not going to ask Jordan Love to run the ball 55 times. That's just not what's going to happen here for the Packers. But yeah, I expect Aaron Jones to have a monster game this weekend.
So you have interest in his rushing and receiving prop over?
I mean, if I played it, I would, but I'm not touching it. I try to limit my player props as much as possible, and I've kind of committed to CD this week. So I had a friend tell me a year or so ago that if I cut out player props out of my bets, my ROI goes up. So I've kind of listened to that as best I can, and I think you'll notice that when I do play a prop now, the win rate's much higher.
Yeah. I'm thankful to be that friend of yours, Birdie. Your friendship has added a lot to my life as well, and I'm happy that the player prop note went listened to, because you saw me cut him completely out of my action about 3 years ago. But that Jones rushing receiving is got asterisks beside it. Birdie on Vikings +3. It's available right now at -121 at Pinnacle. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern with the Pittsburgh Steelers 3-0, 2-0 on the road at the Indianapolis Colts 1-2, 1-1 at home at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the first spot on the board of an official pick for our Troy Torrence that, of course, will be counted for our record keeping. He's on the under 40 here, under 40 at minus 110. And I stared at this while I was in Hawaii for 36 hours, and I couldn't move on it. It was funny. I had a feeling that Justin Fields was going to get more and more comfortable with this offense. And I had some concern about the Colts defense. Maybe the Colts calmed those fears in a 26 victory at home over the Bears. They didn't. I wanted to see them without DeForest Buckner. And you can still get it at the number right now. The two unders that I was staring at were the Steelers Colts under and the Patriots 49ers under. I fired on the Patriots 49ers under. That has now moved against me very, very slightly. While this is still right where it left, where I could bet it right now. And Troy's moved on the under 40. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's get over the line history here for this one. From a spread look, we have the Steelers minus 1.5 and minus 105. They opened up right there, minus 1.5, minus 105. This minus 1.5 got juiced as much as minus 121 Tuesday morning at 10:13 a.m. It's come right back. We've had 2 cents of movement towards the Steelers. On the total for this one, we have 39.5 listed at Pinnacle. It's 40 everywhere else. It's 39.5 minus 115 to the over. If this wasn't available at Pinnacle when I was looking at it beforehand, it was just a Bet365 look-ahead spot. A Boston guy says Steelers underrated. Kent Davies says Steelers money line minus 116 early. Proof Bet says love that under 40, letting it tick up. Rand says 40 seems high for this one. Coin on Indianapolis minus 1. And, it says Indianapolis minus 140.5 was the look-ahead line. So, and Spenny Penny Bombs waiting to see about Warren and Najee, but sneaky player prop, Cordell Patterson rush yards for Pittsburgh. I believe that Warren is the one that will not be available in this one. Big Show says, what kind of year is it when you're seeing the Steelers team 5th in some power rankings? Let's talk about them off the hop. Red zone offense tied for 31st in the NFL at 25%. Unless Justin Fields is first and goal, and it's got to be, first and goal from this 5. He's not a very good red zone quarterback. Red zone defense first in the NFL, 16.7%. What a dynamite defense. Now there's some injuries that we'll talk about that have now happened. Their third down offense, 7th in the league, 43.2%. Their third down defense, first in the league. They allow conversions just 21.9% of the time. Steelers coming off an impressive 2010 win at home over the Chargers, start their 3-0 season. Outgained the Chargers 346 to 168. It's as good as the offense has looked this year, except they were 1-4 in the red zone. Justin Fields 25-32 for 245 yards, touchdown and a pick. Calvin Austin caught 4 for 95 and a touchdown. Pickens caught 5 for 57, and Najee Harris ran 18 times for 70 and caught 5 passes for 16 yards. They were 7-14 on third down and had that stifling defense once again. Held the Chargers to 3.7 yards per play and 3 of 11 on third down. Steelers pass rush finished with 5 sacks and 7 quarterback hits, but they lose outside linebacker Alex Highsmith to a groin injury late in the first half. He will miss at least this week's game against the Colts. Quarterback Corey Trice left in the first quarter with a hamstring injury. He's been placed on IR. Of course, Highsmith is the big loss there. For these Colts, red zone offense, 9th in the league at 62.5%. Anthony Richardson is a bulldog down there. Red zone defense, 26th in the league, 66.7%. Third down offense, 26th in the league, 32.3%, because Anthony Richardson can't make these short passes. He doesn't have a touch at this point. Third down defense, 28th in the league at 50%. I don't know what to make of this Colts football team. I took them to make the playoffs at plus 140. I consider that a losing bet at this point. I feel like they're not a quality football team, and Anthony Richardson is not a quarterback that you want to have money on because he can't make the simple plays. Colts coming off that 21-16 victory at home over the Bears. Richardson struggled again, 10-20 for 167 yards and 2 picks. Did run 8 times for 24 yards. Jonathan Taylor was the star on offense, 23 carries for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also caught a pass for 25 yards. Alec Pierce led receivers with 1 catch for 44 yards. The much maligned Colts defense had a strong day playing without star DeForest Buckner, who's on IR. They bent but didn't break. And, very interesting breakdown of Gus Bradley's defense from Birdie, because the Bears went 9 of 21 on third down, 4 of 5 on fourth down, but they didn't score a point in the first half and finished with just 16. The pass rush finished with 4 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. That included a strip sack. Jalen Jones had 2 picks. This battered defense, though, took 2 more shots late in the game. A cornerback, Kenny Moore, left with a hip injury. We don't know. We're waiting on updates at this point. There's still, we don't know. At least we didn't know as of 7 hours ago. So he had 8 tackles, half sack, and a pass defense before departing. And then Kwity Paye injured his quad. I mean, if Kenny Moore, Kwity Paye, and DeForest Buckner aren't playing defense, how in the world are we not on the Steelers? And why is this line not moving towards the Steelers? Take it away, Birdie. Steelers, Colts, and Lucas Oil.
Yeah, I love this game. So I think what you're seeing here, and I've kind of said it in chats all along, this will probably be the last week, and then everything will be caught up from a power rating standpoint. So many people pre-flop, like in their preseason future bets, where we saw all the Houston love and people were betting overs like on their win total, division. We saw the opposite here. People were betting the Steelers heavy, but it was opposite. Like, don't make the playoffs, under on your win total. So power ratings were really, really small. And then they saw that back half of the schedule and overreacted to that. So their power ratings started really low. And I think probably what we've seen is the power ratings haven't caught up. Some of them you see Pittsburgh in top 10 in some of them, but I think for the sharp guys, it's going to take a little bit longer for them. And the reason why we're seeing the money is they bet Indy every week. Like, Indy was one of these teams coming in. Like, you're not the only person that believed in Indy and put bets on them, future bets on them in the off season. So did a lot of these sharps. So you see Indy money every week, and I think you're starting to see, like, the first 4 weeks, the same teams are getting the money every week. Like, it's there. I mean, it happens. So I think we're getting a ton of value in this line on Pittsburgh, honestly. But let's face it. Historically, this is a letdown game for Pittsburgh. I mean, we don't have to look far. We can look back to last season when they were on a winning streak, came into Indy and lost 30-7. So I think that probably in this game actually helps a Pittsburgh backer, because my guess is Tomlin's showing a lot of that tape this week. So I imagine he's using that for motivation. And it just feels different, this Pittsburgh team, because I've been saying, like, it's been so crazy impressive what Tomlin has done, because if you look back to 2021, this team has had a complete rebuild. They lost their Hall of Fame quarterback. What team does that? Like, when a team loses a Hall of Fame quarterback, they decline. They don't finish 500 and make the playoffs. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. And now they've had 3 full drafts. They've got a ton of high, really talented draft picks. And here's the crazy part. They lose Hightower, and people will talk about that because he's a great player. Then Herbert comes in and gets 2 sacks. Like, they're just so deep on that defensive front. They haven't had that depth for a long time, but they have that depth now. And there's a kid named Leal that was a defensive tackle for them. Was a big, big man. And they've totally changed his body frame. Still got a little bit to come, but they're working him in on the edge too. This kid's going to start getting some pass rushing. Like, it's just nuts how much depth they have on this front. I just think until the power rankings get right on Pittsburgh, you just continue to bet Pittsburgh week in, week out until they get caught up. Like, next week, it's a bettable line already. They're playing Dallas, and Dallas is a 1-point favorite. Dallas can't stop the run, and Pittsburgh can run. Like, you can bet that number right now, Dallas -1, so Pittsburgh +1, and I guarantee you that number will be different next week. I guess there's a little bit of a worry if Dallas romps the Giants, but the reality of it is Dallas can't stop the run, and when you're looking ahead here, and it's very important to do, like on my notes here, I'll have all next week's stuff already here. You can start picking out value for next week based off on what you think the games are going to do this week. I just think this is a bad matchup for Indy, and I could be wrong here because historically, as I said, this is a spot where a Tomlin team can let down, but I think that 30-7 game plays here. So I really like Pittsburgh here in this spot. So I'm gonna take their money line. And so, God, it figures the first game Troy plays, and I'm playing it. So I really like the over here, to be honest. I think we're going to see points. So, like, we expect so much out of these teams early on. Like, you have Arthur Smith, a new offensive coordinator, with two quarterbacks that he's trying to get ready, and Fields wasn't even the number one guy all preseason. So he's instilling an offense. Russell Wilson's the number one guy, getting all the number one reps, and Fields is working in behind them. I mean, people overreact to all these field goals early on from Fields, but Fields started moving the ball last week. He's got the fourth best rate. I can't remember the stat, but when you throw the ball deep and catchable ball, like he's the fourth best. He's the fourth highest rated passer at catchable balls on deep balls. Like, who would have thought that of Justin Fields? I think this Arthur Smith offense really fits him well, and it's just kind of like the Steelers are in such a good spot because you're still hearing the Russell Wilson stuff, so that still has to motivate Fields to go out and take this job over. So I think we're going to see the best of Justin Fields week in and week out until such time that Tomlin says you're our guy, and then it's probably time to fade the Packers a little bit. But there is no motivation for Fields to let down here. Fields has a bad game. He could not be a quarterback in the NFL the following week. So I just think this sets up really well for Pittsburgh again. That defense is just so good. I don't see any other defense in the league even close to what they're rolling out. And it's just to me, it's just a bad spot. And Gardner Minshew's not playing quarterback this week. Richardson's playing quarterback, and Minshew at least is a veteran. And I mean, you're talking to a guy who's played 6 NFL games trying to play this Pittsburgh front. Good luck to you.
Yeah, the reason why I would be hesitant is just because I'm late to the party, and I hate that feeling. It's like a jealousy thing where I'm late to the party and I think I'll be early to the funeral if I come in this late. But after Fields went 25 of 32 for 245 yards, I thought, oh no. I mean, this team could be really good. And you talked about Herbig as a replacement for Highsmith, but Highsmith is a monster himself. But there's a ton of depth there. You've definitely got me interested. Kent Davies says, "Come in, Jimmy. The water's warm. You can back the Steelers." So we have Birdie on the Steelers money line minus 121. Troy on the under 40. And historically,
I'm on the.
Oh, and
sorry,
you're making
I'm on the
over.
over. Yeah, I'm on the over 40 as well, and I also do have a Steelers money line, Dallas money line parlay there too.
Okay,
sorry.
I will. No, it's great. And I think I wrote that down under the first game. Let me just make sure that I did. I believe I wrote that down here. The Oilers, sorry. I didn't write that down. So let's do that now. So Cowboys, Steelers, money line parlay. Why don't we just set that one up here very quickly? Right now, if you want the Steelers and the Cowboys money line parlay, that's yours at plus 158 at Pinnacle. So we'll put that in right here. And then we're also going to give you the over in this one. Did you want a 39.5, over 39.5 at minus 115?
Yes, please.
Okay. That's available right now at Pinnacle as well. The over 39.5, minus 115. And I was just going to say before, and thank you for it, because I need all this house to be official. It's part of what makes the show special, the record keeping and the transparency. But I really thought, in my past, when there's been a spot that I wanted and I just was like, something just doesn't feel right, something doesn't feel right, and I stay off of it. If I then moved on to the other side, my ROI would be very strong. I just don't seem to do that ever. Troy on the under, Birdie on the over, Birdie on the Steelers money line. Remo says Houston or Edmonton Oilers. Yes, that was my fault. Obviously, hockey coming very soon. Hockey coming very soon. Let's roll. That was a great breakdown, Birdie. We roll on 1 p.m. Eastern. Denver Broncos 1-2, 1-1 on the road. The New York Jets 2-1, 1-0 homer at MetLife in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 71 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Johnny Guns, this is interest says, what up, fellas? Just tuning in. Missed the Dallas game, but I have some insider info. My coworker, good friend with CD's uncle. They share the same suite for home games. He told my coworker that Jerry told him to apologize before the media, but he is still, in fact, pissed off at Dak. I can understand why, as a wide receiver with his talent, that you'd be upset at your quarterback at times, especially if it was Dak Prescott. I don't mind if he was forced to give the apology or not. I like the apology. I like the bounce back ramifications of it, regardless of whether it's forced or not forced. And I felt like it was pretty real when he was saying it. I felt he was pretty emotional when he was doing it. I watched it a couple times. But that's great stuff, Johnny Guns. And thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. So let's talk here. Broncos, Jets. This is a fun one. We're going to start with the total. In this one, we have a total of 39.5, juice to the under. This opened up at 38.5. We've come up a point. So we're 1 point move towards the over. And on the spread, we have the Jets as 7.5 point favorites at -108. There's been 3 cents of movement on the 7.5. We'll get to the cash flow here on this one. From a cash flow look, here we go. 59% of the tickets, 68% of the cash on the Jets, 80% of the tickets, 76% cash on the over. Start with the Broncos. Red zone offense, 30th in the league at 27.3%. Red zone defense, so 12th in the league at 40%. The third down offense, 28th in the league at 25.6%. Third down defense is 8th in the league at 30.6%. Broncos come in off an extremely impressive 26-7 victory at Tampa for their first win of the young season. Bo Nix, 25-36 for 216 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also ran 9 times for 47 yards and a touchdown. We'll still wait for his first touchdown pass, but we have his first win. He didn't throw an interception, too. He threw 4 over his first 2 games. And I know that Peyton Manning is very excited to see Bo throw more than 28 in his rookie season. That's what the record is. And Peyton said it. Broncos offense put up 352 total yards. Cortland Sutton caught 7 passes for 68 yards. Tyler Beatty ran 9 times for 70 yards. It's about time they went to Beatty. Finally, they go to Beatty. And I hope that for Broncos fans, I hope he's RB1. I think we've seen enough of Javonte. Although the offense looked much better, it struggled on third down again, going 4-13, but the defense was suffocating. They held the Buccaneers to 223 total yards in the secondary. They had just 132 yards through the air. The pass rush had 7 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. They held the Bucs to 3 of 11 on third down, 0-2 on fourth down. Brandon Jones had an interception. And the Broncos are a healthy group as they move forward. We never said that last year. No. Let's talk about these Jets. What a difference home cooking makes. Red zone offense tied for 2nd in the league at 75%. Red zone defense tied for 4th at 30%. Impressive. Third down offense, number 1 in the league at 56.8%. Third down defense, 18th, allowing opponents to get a first down on 36.1% of opportunities. Jets come in off extra rest and prep after their impressive 24-3 win at home over the Patriots on Thursday. They completely dominated the Patriots, outgaining them 400 to 139. In the first half, the Jets outgained the Patriots 252 to 40. 17 first downs to the Patriots 4. It was the fewest first downs for the Patriots in any half since 2000. The offense looked great. Third straight game to start the year where they have at least 3 touchdowns on offense. Aaron Rodgers, 27-35 for 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Conklin caught 5 for 93. Lazard caught 3 for 48 and a touchdown. Braylon Anderson is a bulldog. Youngest player in the league. Looks like an old vet. Not afraid to run into the teeth. Smash mouth football. ran 11 times for 55 yards. Breece Hall ran 16 times for 54 yards and touchdown. If these two stay healthy all year, I mean, what a weapon for Rodgers. Good God. 27 first downs. They went 10 of 15 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone, held onto the ball for 40 minutes and 4 seconds. The defense was a force all night. Held the Patriots to 2.9 yards per play, held them to 2 of 11 on third down. Pass rush was dynamite, 7 sacks, 15 quarterback hits. Right tackle Morgan Moses injured a knee on the final play of the third quarter, didn't return. They have a first-round pick in Fashanu, who's on the bench ready to replace him. Moses is now out for 2 to 4 weeks. There's obviously a reason why Fashanu was on the bench. I mean, he's not been delivering to a high enough quality to be a starter. The Jets look scary, and I still don't know what to make of what the Broncos did to the Buccaneers. Take it away for us, Birdie. Broncos, Jets, MetLife.
So my power number on this was 4.5 Jets. So I have to take the plus 7.5 on the Broncos here. I think it's a bit too many points. You get like kind of the Mahomes, you're getting an Aaron Rodgers tax. A lot of folks excited about the Jets, and rightfully so. But in reality, the combined records of the team they've played are 2-7. So I mean, I'm not getting too excited about the Jets in the sense that I'm not upping on my power rating on them. My numbers will take over after this week anyway, so all the priors will be gone. Be interested to see how they grade out. But I don't think this Jets defense is a top 5 defense anymore in the NFL. May get there again before the year's out, but they just have way too many holes. They just struggle stopping the run. The kid you were talking about with Denver, if he gets any play this week, probably overs on his props are probably a good look. I mean, and at the end of the day, for me, I've got Sean Payton against Robert Saleh and Hackett. Give me that matchup all day, every day. I think the Broncos are better than their power rating. I like that Peyton has put the ball in the hands of Nick week after week after week. He's throwing it. I mean, he struggled week 1, got better week 2, was a lot better last week. I mean, it takes a while for these young kids to grow, and every game they get in, just the better it's going to be. And he's in a really good system with a really good coach. I like the Broncos here, and I mean, this is a spot where I would fade the Jets with the travel to Europe next week. I think we have a lot of prima donnas that probably want to do a lot of fun stuff. They're older, or at least Rodgers is. So I imagine there's a lot of extracurricular stuff being planned for that trip. And historically, the week before the trip is when you want to fade a team. So I'm okay with the plus 7.5. I mean, I don't love it. It's a hold your breath type of play. I know folks are kind of saying, well, the Jets have this 10-day rest, but I mean, in reality, as I said earlier, the rest isn't really all that impactful early on. I mean, the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Ravens all had 10 days and lost straight up the following game. The only team that's won off the 10-day rest is the Bills, and they actually had 11. So I'm not too concerned about the rest this early. I just think there's probably a lot of distractions with the Jets. They're feeling. The one thing we do know about Aaron Rodgers is he has no problem with confidence, and coming off 2 good wins, the snowball's kind of rolling. They're heading to Europe. I think this is a sneaky little spot with all these points that we can kind of hit on the Broncos here.
Broncos plus 7.5 at minus 104. A very appealing breakdown from you, Birdie. I'm very interested in it. We'll keep an eye on it. Birdie moving on the Broncos. Plus 7.5. Available right now. Pinnacle minus 104. We roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia Eagles 2-1, 1-0 on the road. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2-1, 1-1 at home at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. This is a interesting weather situation again that you just want to keep an eye on if you're going to invest in this football game, because it's scattered thunderstorms. It's not isolated. So there's thunderstorms throughout the day, 83 Fahrenheit, 6 miles per hour. Just keep an eye on it. And Troy has moved on the under 45 in this one. Under 45 at minus 110, an official move for Troy Torrance. Let's set this one up. We'll start with the spread. This is a 2.5 here at Pinnacle. A lot of the other books have moved to 2. If you want the Bucks plus 2.5, it is juiced to minus 115. So there has been 13 cents of movement towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this number. Let's get to this total here quickly. From a total side of things, we have a 44.5 heavily juiced to the under. This opened up at 46. So it's a pretty big move. Basically a 2-point move because it's minus 118 to the under 44.5 at this point. So a slight move towards the Buccaneers and a legitimate move towards the under in this one. Dougie Wise liking the Bucks plus 1.5, and Johnny Gunn says I have a family that live in Florida and they're on hurricane watch. They were considering leaving the state, and that was something that that Kong talked about right off the hop. Kong talked about the issue with the hurricane possibly affecting his college football action. So it's important to keep an eye on. Harold Williams says leaning towards the Bucks money line, and Al Cervic says Hurricane Helen is moving in. Talk about did we go over the cash flow? That is very, very important. Let's just go over the cash flow here. 42% of the tickets and 81% of the cash is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a bounce back spot at home after the Eagles look very good in New Orleans and have a second straight road game. And then the total is a coin flip, 51 and 52 on the over. 51 and 52 on the over. Fernando Mendoza says the Bucks might be the dog. Oldie says Denver made us look JV. Let's talk about the Eagles first. Red zone offense tied for 23rd at 42.9%. Red zone defense tied for 4th at 30%. What a job Fangio's done. Third down offense, 15th at 39%. Third down defense, 13th at 33.3%. The Eagles have their bye week next week. You know, we talk about the issues of going to Europe. I'm always uncomfortable backing a team before their bye week, you know, with all the plans that they're making and the great lives they're about to have. The Eagles coming off a character-building 15-12 win at the Saints. They outgained the Saints 460 to 219, but they didn't score a point until the fourth quarter, which is crazy. Jalen Hurts was 29 of 38 for 311 yards in the interception. He also lost a fumble. Playing without A.J. Brown, there were clearly two options through the air for Hurts. Goddard, he caught 10 passes for 170 yards, and Devonta Smith caught 7 for 79 yards before he was hit helmet on helmet by Christian Boyd. He's in concussion protocol. And so is Lane Johnson. He left with a concussion in the first half and didn't return. How important are those two pieces to the Philadelphia Eagles puzzle? After Goddard and Smith, no other receiver caught for more than 13 yards. And one of those depth receivers, Britton Covey, he left with a shoulder injury and he's being placed on IR. The Eagles have a bye after this week. So I just don't see how they'd bring A.J. Brown back this week. Now, maybe A.J. Brown says, look, Devonta's not there. I want to be in. And maybe the coaches have to say, look, we got it. We need you healthy down the stretch here. Important stuff. Saquon had 17 carries for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fangio's defense was excellent. They completely shut down the Saints offense. They had scored 91 points in the previous 2 games, held them to 12 points, 12 first downs, 210 total yards, held them to 1 of 3 in the red zone. They only had 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits, but they had 6 tackles for a loss, and Reed Blankenship had a pick. Let's talk about these Buccaneers. What a no-show. But we'll start with their red zone offense, 14th at 55.6%. Red zone defense, 14th at 42.9%. Third down offense tied for 11th at 41.2%. Their third down defense also 14th at 34.2%. Buccaneers coming off that ugly 26-7 loss at Tampa only put up 2, of course it was at Tampa, but it was 2 Denver at Tampa. The offense only put up 223 yards, 3 of 11 on third down, 0-2 on fourth down. Baker was 25 of 33 for 163 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It's funny, as soon as he does the podcast about, you know, how it was very tight around here, you know, with Tom Brady, everybody was really stressed out around, you know, Tom Brady. As soon as he does that interview, they completely no-show after a huge win in Detroit. Maybe sometimes, Baker, you need that intensity. And Baker also, you know, was like talking about his teammates got to be ready for these games. They got to take it seriously. Like, I love what he's done this year, but I don't really like the comments and the quotes that have come out from him over the last week. Godwin caught 6 passes for 53 yards and a touchdown. Cade Otton caught 7 for 47. He did lose a fumble. Bucky, man, Bucky rolls 9 carries for 70 yards. He looks very good. The pass rush was invisible. Love you to touch on that, Birdie. I know that they're dealing with injuries and Vita Vea not there and Kalijah Cansey not there. Winfield and Cansey, by the way, because he was not there, all-pro safety Antoine Winfield, him and Cansey were working with trainers today at practice on the sidelines in hopes of returning to the lineup. We'll get into more injuries in a second. They did hold the Broncos to 4-13 on third down and 6 second-half points. So it's Gadecki, right tackle, was inactive. He's making progress through the league's protocols, so they think he'll play Sunday. And long snapper Evan Decker is left with a hamstring injury second half. He's on IR, so he's going to be gone for a while. Take it away for us, Birdie. Again, Troy on the under 45. Are you moving on Eagles, Buccaneers?
Absolutely not. There's just way too many injuries here. So this is one that you're going to have to watch the injury report all week and probably Friday or Saturday, whenever the final one comes out. I mean, if the Bucs get their defense back, Bucks are probably a good look, but I think probably the reality of it is this is an Eagle spot all the way. I mean, let's not forget the Bucks went into Philadelphia in their home and embarrassed them in the playoffs. This is the first time they've got an opportunity to come back and play them. I'm with you on Baker. I think sometimes success creates narcissism, and I think we see that a little bit when guys start stepping out of themselves, and what made guys love them as leaders kind of works against them. And I think we kind of see that here a little bit with Baker, and I'm a little bit worried about that too. I just, the Bucs are just so beat up, but then how do you bet the Eagles with no Smith, no Brown? Like it's tough, but I mean, from a situational standpoint, this has to be an Eagle spot. The only way that I would flip on that probably is if the Bucs get Via back and a couple of those big defensive pieces. But I mean, the Bucs have a divisional game against the Falcons next week. I think that's probably more on their radar than the Eagles game here. In my opinion, I think that's the game they have to win, is next week against the Falcons. So probably wouldn't surprise me if they sit out some guys that aren't quite ready here. So, I mean, it's Bucks or nothing for me, and Eagles are nothing for me, and I'll just wait for injury reports.
Interesting. So of course, you're right. The playoff loss, the playoff embarrassment should trump the fact that the Buccaneers were just embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it does. I mean, but let's remember the Bucs got embarrassed with a ton of injuries. So it wasn't like this. It was the Bucs full roster and they're at full health and they just laid an egg. I mean, they came back off beating the Detroit Lions in Detroit, which is a meaningful win. And we just saw it with the Raiders last week. Like, I know people don't want to believe in letdown spots and look ahead spots, but they are 100% for real. I've lived it. And I mean, I don't take anything into the getting beat bad last week, because I think they were always going to get beat bad last week off that win against Detroit. I would say probably the Eagles have the trump card here based off that playoff loss. And let's be honest, the Eagles roster is still better than the Tampa Bay roster. I mean, Tampa Bay's done well and they've done some things on offense. But I mean, comparatively speaking, the Eagles still have a much better roster.
And I think this under 45 makes sense. I mean, it's dropping quickly. I think a low scoring.
I think you gamble on this. I think you gamble on it. I really do, that the weather's going to affect it. Because regardless, I mean, even if you're wrong and the weather doesn't affect it, are these rosters going to be good enough to put up 43 points, 42 points? I still think the under's probably good anyway, but I think it's something you probably gamble on a little bit. And if you have to get out of it, you get out of it at the end of the week. But it's just, this number's only going one way if that weather's for real. And it'd be nice to have a 44 in your pocket.
Yeah, or 44 and a half, 44. Yeah, I mean, you have to pay a little bit for the 44 and a half. Yeah, no, well put. Great to see a bunch of cappers here in our chat. One of them, Clint McLean, who star of the Die Hard MMA podcast, was eliminated. Lasted longer than me, week 3 of the Survivor. We have 2 left. $4,200 up for grabs. Kent Davies, who's in our chat right now, and Drug Monkey RX, our last 2 in the Survivor. 2 great guys and great friends of the channel. I love seeing the cash go to you 2 fellas. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the Cincinnati Bengals 0-3, 0-1 on the road. The Carolina Panthers 1-2, 0-1 at home at Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. 72 Fahrenheit, showers 6 miles per hour. Let's get into this one. Another spot where you want to keep an eye on the weather as showers are listed. Bengals, Panthers, this total is at 46.5 minus 108 to the under. This opened up at 47.5. And the first move was to the over. This got up to 48.5 before it started dropping. It's now down a point to 46.5. Let's get into the point spread for this one. What a fascinating game this is going to be. Who would have thunk it beginning of the year? The Bengals are -4. -4. They opened up at -4.5 at -106 at Pinnacle. There's been a half-point move to the Red Rifle and the Carolina Panthers, of course, who started his career here with the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's get over to the cash flow for Bengals Panthers. See what we are dealing with. And that's not gone too far. Here we go. 67% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on the Cincinnati Bengals. 60% of the tickets and 54% of the cash is on the over. So the public and the bigger bets on the Bengals, the lines moved a half point away from those very Bengals. Al Cervic said, did you all see Burrow, coach, no see, went into the office, whole team went into the locker room post-game? Vincent Hawkins says, Panthers strike again. The Andy gets his payback against his old team. Harold Williams says, Panthers are pass. Bungles are a fade team. Topset says, Bengals tank the season and fire the coach. Only one team since 2000 has made the playoffs after starting 0-3. Why not these Bengals? But I know a lot of you guys wanting to have nothing to do with them. Red zone offense, 15th, 50%. Red zone defense tied for 16th at 55.6%. Third down offense tied for 11th at 41.2%. Third down defense, 21st at 37.5%. Obviously, it's going to be a very tough mountain for the Bengals to climb, making the playoffs after 0-3 start. They come in off a surprise 38-33 loss at home to the Washington Commanders. They outgained the Commanders 436-356 in the loss. Neither Washington or Cincinnati punted or had a turnover. That's the first time that's ever happened in a game in the Super Bowl era. That is some wild stuff. Offense looked excellent.
Washington hasn't punted in like 2 games.
2 games, yeah. They haven't punted in 2 games.
Crazy.
Now, we go back to that last game. They were 0 of 6 in the red zone. So this was a very different affair. But it's can you imagine that's the second and third games of Jaden Daniels' career and his team hasn't punted? I mean, we're dealing with the same thing we dealt with last year, where the team who picked first overall is going to have major regrets and be questioned nonstop all season long. And it drove one quarterback and Bryce Young into the ground. And we'll see what it does to Caleb Williams. Now, we're a little early on all of that, but it looks like it's shaping
I don't
up.
know. They lose this week.
Oh, man, Jaden looks so good. Jamar Chase back in business. A lot of cappers on our live stream were all over him. And I was so sick during that live stream, I had to leave early. And I didn't get to celebrate the cappers who were all over Jamar Chase props. I hope to get to do that on Thursday. Shout them out. And I will do that on Thursday. Jamar Chase caught 6 passes for 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. T. Higgins made the season debut with 3 catches for 39 yards. Chase Brown had another strong game with limited carries. When are they going to give the guy the rock? I mean, good God, he looks good. He ran 7 times for 62 yards. Zach Moss ran 12 for 58 in the touchdown. He caught 5 for 39. They put up 30 first downs. Well, that's all well and good. Their defense looked porous. The Commanders scored on every possession except for kneel downs that ended each half. Jaden Daniels' third career start, second on the road, goes 21 of 23. 21, we'll talk more about that in the Washington game. 9.9 yards per attempt against this weak-ass secondary. Commanders were 5 of 9 on third down, 3 of 3 on fourth down, 3 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and they lose Trent Brown. Season-ending injury, torn patellar tendon. Oh, what a mess. What a mess. And there's our guy, Kent Davies. And actually, he's been with us all show long. 1 of 2 left in our survivor pool. I'd love to see it. Let's talk about these Panthers. Red zone offense now 13th in the league, 57.1%. Red zone defense still 31st in the league at 88.9%. Third down offense 31st in the league at 20.6%. That's going to take a while to change. That might not change. Third down defense 27th in the league, 47.5%. Panthers coming off an impressive 36-22 win at Las Vegas. First start for the Panthers since replacing 2023 first overall pick Bryce Young with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. They put up 437 total yards. Carolina was outscored a combined 73-13 by the Saints and Chargers first 2 weeks. That's unbelievable. We talked about it preseason, but they ended a 20-game streak dating back to Week 17 in 2022 against the Bucs of not leading in the fourth quarter. Just nuts. Dalton finished 26 of 37 for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. Deontay Johnson had a monster game, finally. Good to see. 8 receptions for 122 yards. Chuba Hubbard was a monster. Ran 21 times for 114 yards, caught 5 for 55 yards. 5 of 12 on and the touchdown. 5 of 12 on third down. 3 of 5 in the red zone. Dominated time of possession. Held the ball for 36 minutes and 2 seconds. The defense looked much stronger. Held the Raiders to 3 of 11 on third down. 1 of 3 on fourth down. Pass rush looked formidable for the first time all season. 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Michael Jackson had an interception. Defense does continue to struggle in the red zone. The Raiders were 3 of 3. Adam Thielen hurt his hamstring. He's being placed on IR. Safety Jordan Fuller placed on injured reserve on Tuesday. More losses are coming to the Panthers. I can't wait to hear this breakdown. What a fascinating capping situation. Bengals, Panthers at Bank of America.
Yeah, so I don't know what either of these teams are. Like, I don't know how you can comfortably come into this game and try to handicap it. I mean, I have no idea who these teams are at this point. The Panthers, I mean, they looked a lot better with Andy Dalton, without question. I think they are going to be better on offense with Dalton just because of his experience. But let's be realistic. They had the perfect storm last week in that Raider game with the Raiders coming back from down double digits in Baltimore on the road. I mean, Gardner Minshew's never winning a bigger game in his career than that game in Baltimore, even though he won in Baltimore the year previous, coming back down double digits. I mean, at one point they had a 4% chance to win that game. They were just always not going to show up last week. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise. So I really didn't upgrade the Panthers very much because I still don't know what they're going to be, because they're still, like, to me, they're still the worst team and they're still the worst roster. So I'm not overreacting here. And I saw 3.5 on Cincy, I think, earlier today too, when I was doing my write-ups earlier. And as far as the Bengals go, like, them not winning last week, I think it really put a scare into me, because I mean, we all kind of were on that. Well, the Bengals start 0-2 every year under Burrow, so it's just they're going to flip the light switch and it's just going to start, and they're just going to start to roll. I think I mean, the Bengals not being for real, I think, is something that we all have to kind of maybe wrap our head around. I mean, the point you made 2 weeks ago about the Browns not willing to pay those wide receivers, I mean, that you can see it's just deflated that whole team. Like, there's no, like, I saw Al Cervic say that Higgins has to.
You talk about the Bengals not paying the wide
receiver. Bengals, yeah. Saul Cervic mentioned that Higgins has to ball out. No, he doesn't. Higgins is getting paid next year if he doesn't play another game this year. There's absolutely zero motivation for that guy to do anything. And same goes for Chase. Like, Chase is getting paid. Like, it doesn't matter what he does this year. Chase is getting paid. So those guys have just zero. And that was such a great point by you. And I didn't really think of it in that regard. And then you start looking and listening and looking at body language. It's just awful in Cincinnati. I can't back them. I can't back them if it was a 2.5. I mean, there's just no way in this game that I could comfortably make a bet, because I don't have any angle. And then if you look at the situation, like, the Bengals have the Ravens next week. So this easy schedule, I mean, if they don't win today, it's put a fork in it, and it's going to go bad, and it's going to go badly in Cincinnati, because guys are going to just start to bail. You pay a pass rusher and you don't pay your 2 best wide receivers. It's just absolutely asinine to me. Yeah, I can't get involved in this game till I see a little bit more out of both teams.
You know, it's interesting. When I was going through the Bengals heavy was because I was interested in their futures in the offseason, and their 9.5 wins was very juiced. And I was like, I can't bet this. They had real nice, very few injuries last year, and still, so before we move on from the Bengals Panthers, for those of you guys joining us late, the bet of the year was last week, and you could say it was following the bet of the year. What a read Birdie had on these Panthers. The week 2 lowest scoring team on Sunday, plus 750. Gave it out, cashed it. On week 3, he bet the Panthers have the highest scoring week on Sunday at 80-1. Picked
I
up
can
12
talk that out for you. I can talk that out for you just so people know I wasn't throwing darts.
Yeah,
If you got
good.
2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this was just the exact same spot as it was in 2023 when they were on the road in Seattle. Young was struggling, got hurt. Dalton got to get that spot start on the road in Seattle, and he put up like 350 yards passing. They scored 30 points. And then you have that big win by the Raiders in Baltimore the following week. So it was just like an absolute perfect storm. It was kind of like deja vu with Dalton getting that start. And like, let's face it, the Panthers need. I mean, if they announced Jimmy the Bag as the quarterback for Carolina last week, their offense was going to just get better. Like, it just couldn't get worse, right? So I just felt like that was just a really good spot. So I didn't give it out on the show. I wish I had of, but the play didn't come without some thought, and I'm glad it worked out. I
We
think
all
there's
are.
another spot this week too. I think a pretty nice spot. Maybe I was just going to check the odds here, but yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that later.
There's
Maybe.
been a lot of people talking about it in the chat. It made us all very happy to see you be rewarded for your hard work. That's what it made us pleased
Thank
for. It inspires. That type of bet, seeing you catch like that, inspires us. So it's excellent. So I'm happy we got to touch on it here with our Bengals Panthers breakdown. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Jacksonville Jaguars 0-3, 0-2 on the road. The Houston Texans 2-1, 1-0 at home at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. Let's get into the line history here for Jags Texans. We have Houston now at 6.5 across the board. They're showing a 7 here at Pinnacle. It's not a real 7. Jacksonville's minus 128 and Houston is plus 114. So it's a 6.5, but it is moving in the direction of the Houston Texans. Let's get into the total here for this one. This total is at 45, minus 116 to the over. Opened up at 46, dropped a point down to 45. So we have a slight move towards the under. Let's get into the cash flow for this Texans Jags spot. We have 25% of the tickets on the Jaguars and 41% of the cash. But this line, with the public on the Texans, just continues to move towards the Texans. Of course, both teams thoroughly embarrassed last week. One team can hold their head high, though, when they walk around, that being the Texans. The total has 47% of the tickets and 44% cash on the over, 53 and 56 on the under, and the line's moving towards the under. Aaron Gaza says Jags look terrible. T-Law is a turnover machine, but Sammy Calmer says Jags for me. Gordon Nkowski says Houston rolls. Kent Davies says, I think I'd like to move on the Texans before it goes to 7. And Top Set says, I love the over here. I think all 4 downs will play once Jags enter midfield. Start with the Jags. Red zone. These are terrible stats I'm about to read off. Red zone offense, 27th in the league at 36.4%. Red zone defense, 28th in the league at 75%. Third down offense, 30th in the league at 21.9%. And third down defense, 22nd in the league at 39%. We got Untouchable Jay in the house. Shout out to Untouchable Jay for winning his Survivor Pool. Again, we have 2 left at Pub Sports Radio Survivor Pool. Kent Davies and Drug Monkey RX. Great job, Untouchable Jay, for cashing yours, man. Richly rewarded. You deserve it. Both teams coming off extremely ugly losses. Jaguars coming off a short week. They lost miserably, 47-10 at Buffalo. It was very hard to watch. I was on the Jags plus 5.5. I bet them live plus 9.5. I almost bet them again until Mel, a friend of mine in the chat, she pleaded with me not to do it.
So me coming in and putting Buffalo didn't help at all, eh? And that didn't resonate
well, it was in
at
my
all.
head, obviously. But she pleaded with me not to do it again, and I didn't. I took the under 57.5, which I almost lost because of Mac Jones's fumble.
Yeah.
But at least I still got that under 57.5. And thank you, Mel, for caring enough about me to plead to me not to live bet it. The Jaguars last opened 0-3 back in 21. Old Urban Meyer days. He was fired before the end of the season. And you said, Birdie, is Doug Peterson the next to be fired? You said that before the Bills and Jags played. And that number's changed, I'm sure, massively since you said it to us. Trevor Lawrence was 21 of 38 for 178 yards, touchdown and a pick. Then he was replaced by Mac Jones late. Mac Jones 5 of 8 for 22 yards, lost a fumble. Lawrence has now lost 8 straight starts. Christian Kirk caught 8 passes for 79 yards. Brian Thomas Jr. caught 5 for 48. Travis Etienne Jr. had 11 carries for 68 yards. The offense was anemic all night. Jags had 70 yards, 5 first downs, and a field goal in 5 first half possessions. I mean, horrific. They finished 2 of 13 on third down, averaged just 3.5 yards per play. Jags finished just 1 of 4 in the red zone. The defense was horrific. Couldn't get any stops. Couldn't muster any pressure. Allen threw 4 touchdown passes, and the Bills scored TDs on each of their first 5 first-half drives. Jags finished with 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit. Bills were 6 of 11 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth down, went 4 of 5 in the red zone. They lost Jerry Jones. He hurt his left shoulder on the Bills' opening drive. He's listed as questionable this week. Oluokun was ruled out with a foot injury, and now he's going to miss several weeks. Their linebacker, Foye Oluokun, plantar fasciitis. Now, Darnell Savage and Evan Ingram they're hopeful that they'll be back. And Darnell Savage will help very much safety, and Ingram will help give, Trevor a weapon. Talk about these Texans. Red zone offense, still 5th, 71.4%. Didn't get to hang out there much against the Vikings. Red zone defense, 29th, 77.8%. Third down offense, just 20th at 35%, at 35.7%. And third down defense, 24th at 42.5%. Texans coming off a 34-7 beatdown in Minnesota. C.J. Stroud, 20 of 31 for 215 yards, a touchdown, and threw 2 rare interceptions in the loss. First time in 10 starts he's been picked off. Mixon and his backup, Dameon Pierce, are out. Texans did not get 1 first down on the ground. I knew it was going to be a problem, but I've also undervalued how good the Vikings are. And, I didn't bet the game, but looking back at it, you're going with RB3 and RB4 in Minnesota against Flores' defense. I hate.
I did the same thing.
And you look at the mistakes you made. How did I possibly not put that shit together? The Texans combined for 38 yards on 14 carries. Stephon Diggs had 10 catches for 94. Nico added 4 for 86, but it was mostly in garbage time. Tank Dell had 5 catches for 62 yards. The Texans had difficulty handling the crowd noise, pressure from Flores' defense. It's going to be much easier here this week at home. Texans were just 4-14 on third down, but the defense couldn't get stops when it mattered. That really piqued my interest. Vikings were 4-5 in the red zone. Pass rush got 4 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Now, Dameon Pierce is expected to return this week from that strained hamstring. And Joe Mixon still week to week with the ankle injury. So can Dameon Pierce help? He was very disappointing last year after a spectacular year rookie season. So I'm not sure. Take it away for us here, Birdie. Jaguars, Texans.
This is what I dream about, Jimmy. What gets me excited to cap NFL football. So we have a line that opened at 4.5. Great line. My power rating was 4.5. And the NFL is so predictable on perception. So we have everybody and their dog. Actually, I put everyone and their cousin and their cousin's cousin bet the Jags last week against the Buffalo Bills, and they just get hammered. They lose their bets. They get embarrassed. They're awful. So what happens this week? A fair line of 4.5 just gets hammered up 2 points. So we're sitting already with 2 points of value. Win or lose this bet, I just love these spots. So it's just hard to fathom that the Jacksonville Jaguars will cover this game and win it outright, but that's probably what's going to happen this week. Every Saturday I go to bed, I just dream that these sort of scenarios will present themselves on Sunday for the following week, just because the overreaction is just so drastic. And this is just probably the best example you'll see if you ever wonder what it looks like. There's just no way that the Jags got 2.5 point worse in one game of football. They had already baked it into that 4.5 of those first 2 games. It's just a massive overreaction. I really like the Jags here, and I'll make the Jags. There was 7 when I wrote this. It was a solid 7 everywhere. It's come back to 6.5. I'll take the 6.5 with the Jags, and I'll take the Jags money line as well. As I say, for me, this isn't about these situations for me are a must bet. And winner, I mean, you win some, you lose some. Fortunately for me, I win way more than I lose in this type of scenario. I mean, there's no way the Jags can cover and win this game outright. There's just no absolute way. Welcome to the NFL, folks. That's what happens on a weekly basis. The overreaction to this game is just epic. And we have so much value here on this line. It's not even funny.
I love the breakdown. Got you the plus 6.5 and minus 108. Best line
Perfect.
available. That's at Heritage. And then we will give you the best money line at a reputable book is plus 245 at Bookmaker. Wow, what a
It was
breakdown.
250 when I was writing this up today. So I've lost 0.5 points, but that's okay. I'll take the money line.
Let me ask you, Birdie, in your script of the Jaguars winning this game, is it a higher scoring game? Is it a ground and pound type of game?
I think the number's probably right. I mean, the reality of it is this is probably the Texans. So there's another thing here too that always bothers me, and we kind of just touched out in the Cincinnati side of it a little bit, and oddly enough, what's happened with Seedy. I mean, Diggs goes there. He's a model citizen. Everybody's talking how great he is. And then they got a little adversity last week. And then all you see is Diggs just hammering on guys. Now, it could have been positive. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it's just the visual of a wide receiver coming at people as the leader when you have arguably the top 2 or 3 quarter. I mean, I'm really high on Stroud. I think this kid's special. Stroud has to lead that team. And that's where you start kind of running into trouble like you saw it in Buffalo. I mean, you see it in Philly with Brown. Like when these wide receivers become the voice and it's not the quarterback that's leading this team, that's when you really got to start to worry. And I mean, the Houston's overvalued anyway, just because everybody pre-flop was betting their win total over, coach of the year, Stroud MVP, AFC, like everyone hammered their futures in the preseason. So everyone had them better than they were. I mean, the reality of it is they beat bad teams last year. They didn't beat good teams. This year's schedule is a lot tougher. And I mean, we just saw that last week. And I mean, Minnesota wasn't even one of those tough games on their schedule when it first came out. Now you just go play a very physical game in Minnesota, and now you got to come home and you get to play the 0-3 Jags. I mean, it's tough, and I need to see them respond to adversity a little bit. I mean, we already have a number we know we have value in, like that's not even debatable. So like the spread number on the Jags is a must. I think there's more going on in Houston. And for me, it's always just a bit of a warning bell when you see those wide receivers are that vocal on the sideline. And I didn't see Diggs come out with an apology this week on Twitter.
No, there was no. He's not one to apologize often. Jaguars plus 6.5. Jaguars money line. What a wild maneuver that I.
And I'm sorry, I really don't have a question on your total. I think probably if I was to play this game based off my script, I'd take the Texans team total under. That's how I would do it. Because I think for me to win this bet, I think Texans got to kind of struggle a little bit on offense, which I think is going to happen because I still don't think their running back situation is going to be fully fixed. So for me, I would probably take the Houston team total under.
I love it. I love the breakdown. I'm going to be studying this spot and your thoughts on it. And the cappers in the chat, I rewatch these things. So I will be studying it and looking at it throughout the week. Great stuff. Let's roll on.
Thanks.
We roll on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Washington Commanders 2-1, 1-1 on the road. Arizona Cardinals 1-2, 1-1 at home. State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Last week, I was so wrong about the Saints-Eagles total. And the X's and O's just weren't there. And then I could see the same thing happening here when I looked at these two teams and thought, oh, this game soars over immediately. And I could see that the public thought that too, just from a gut feel, because it went up to 51 and then came back, which I thought was fascinating. I'd like to touch on the total line movement here first. This is now at a 50 at Bet Online. Bavaz moved it to 49.5. It's heavily juiced to the under 50 at Pinnacle. This opened up at 49.5 and got up to 51. Got up to 51 Tuesday morning. And now it's come back down. And that's because the X's and O's don't really fit, despite these two quarterbacks being electric. Let's go to the point spread here. I'm fascinated to hear what Birdie in the chat thinks of this one. Arizona Cardinals are minus 3.5 point favorites. They opened up at -4. So we've had a half-point move towards the Washington Commanders and a very, very slight move to the over, but it's coming back. This is our first afternoon game on the slate. 46% of the tickets and 68% of the cash on the Cardinals. 30% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the over. It's amazing that the public would, or I guess the public hasn't bet yet, you could say, but it's amazing that most of the tickets have come in on the under. I find it fascinating. Let's talk about the Commanders first off. Red zone offense 15th in the league at 50%, but they've been Jekyll and Hyde in the red zone. Red zone defense 26th at 66.7%. Third down offense 6th, that's 45.2%. Third down defense 32nd at 61.3%. For the second consecutive week, the Commanders scored on every possession except kneel downs. That's just unfathomable for the second and third starts of a kid's career, like Jaden Daniels. His second road start, I mean, it's just nuts. Now, in week 2, it was all field goals. In week 3, they were scoring touchdowns. Daniels finished 21-23 for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. He set an NFL rookie record for completion percentage at 91.3%. He's 3 games into his career. It's funny about the NFL is you really get a sense right away. What a tough league. I mean, you get a sense right away whether, this kid has it. Oh, no, this kid might not have it. I mean, wow, this kid has it. He also ran 12 times for 39 yards and touchdown. Austin Eckler ran 3 times for 35 yards and touchdown, caught 2 passes for 22 yards, had a 62-yard kick return, and then leaves with a concussion. And it looked like a bad one. He's in concussion protocol. Scary Terry caught 4 passes for 100 yards and a touchdown. Neither team punted, which was nuts. So the Commanders finished 5-9 on third down, 3-3 on fourth down. They were perfect 3-3 in the red zone. But the defense does not look good. But their offense is hard to keep up with. Neither Washington nor Cincinnati punted or had a turnover. That's the first time it's happened in a game in the Super Bowl era. And in their first game without Cleveland Farrell, the pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. Let's talk about the Cardinals. Red zone offense 8th in the league, 66.7%. Red zone defense 24th at 63.6%. Third down offense 4th at 45.5%. And the third down defense tied for 15th at 34.4%. Cardinals coming off a tough 2013 loss at home to the Lions. The offense struggled. And they struggled in the most important moments. They were 1 of 9 on third down, 0 of 2 on fourth down, and 1 of 7 in the red zone. Kyler Murray was 21-34 for 207 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. He also led the ground game with 5 carries for 45 yards. His his running backs combined for 13 carries for 32 yards. You're in big trouble if you can't run the ball, and we haven't seen that from the Cardinals because Connor's been such a monster. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 5 passes for 64 yards and a touchdown. Michael Wilson caught 8 passes for 64 yards. The defense tried to keep the Cards in the game. Dennis Gardeck had an interception. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 2 quarterback hits. I mean, the Lions put up 373 total yards. They were 6 of 12 on third down, 2 of 2 in the red zone, but the Cards D held them to just 3 second-half points. Now, the Cards have injury issues. Starting right tackle Kelvin Beachum with a hamstring was out. So they, in this place, had Jackson Barton at right tackle. That's the team's 3rd starter at right tackle in 3 games. And then Barton left in the 4th quarter and was replaced by Charlie Heck. Beachum and Barton are both listed as questionable, which is pretty good. Defensive lineman Justin Jones left early in the second half with a tricep injury. He's being placed on IR. And then Trey McBride is now in concussion protocol. So there are things that you got to keep an eye out for. what a wild game to cap. Take it away, Birdie. I can't wait. And I can't wait to see what you guys are saying in the chat. Commanders, Cardinals at State Farm.
Yeah, geez, this is going to be a beauty. So I'm going to end it with being on Washington here, plus 3.5. So I wasn't sure. And then, as I say, I did all write-ups for all this to be prepared for here today. So I came into this write-up kind of full disclosure. I was on Arizona. I have a bad ticket. I'll get out of that. I really thought this was going to be an Arizona spot for me. That was before games were played on Sunday. I mean, you had Washington going into Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 0-2 in a must-win spot. You got Daniels coming off his first NFL win. There's no way Washington can step up and win that game in Cincinnati. It just can't happen. And then they go in there. Not only did they cover, but they win outright. And Daniels is just become an elite playmaker in that game. It was wild to me. So I had to kind of slow down a little bit. I mean, you have to, like, and my power ratings just love Washington. Now, I mean, their defense has kind of gotten by with smoke and mirrors. I mean, I would be irresponsible not to say that they've been lucky on defense, but holy God, man, the Washington's like, they're averaging 20 first downs a game. That's elite in the NFL with a rookie quarterback. Like, they're doing anything they want on offense. And I'm not sure this Arizona defense is the one defense that's going to say, okay, you're done. I'm hearing a lot of, well, this is a letdown spot for Washington. Well, why is this a letdown spot when last week probably was a bigger letdown spot coming off your first NFL win? Like, it didn't happen there. Now, granted, we're on a second travel week here, and that's not ideal, but Arizona is another one of those teams that, again, pre-flop, people were betting positively on their futures. They had high hopes for this Arizona team. I mean, their offense has been good. It showed flashes of being good, but I'm not buying in on the Arizona Cardinals. To me, they're still a bottom 10, bottom 8 team in the league based off because they just don't have enough talent. And then when you start getting cluster injuries, and now you're going into your second, third, and fourth strings, especially on the offensive line, that's debilitating for a team that has no talent to begin with. So I mean, it just gets worse after that. I'm not overreacting on Washington. I just think they're a lot better than we think they are because, as you just said, like you can look at a guy and watch how he plays and just know. I mean, the game's not too big for Daniels. I don't care what happens the rest of the way. That pass he made to McLaren, like late in the fourth quarter to ice that game against the Bengals, that was elite. Like, that was elite. Like, rookie quarterbacks don't make that play. And he did that on the back of his foot. He was getting pressured. It was unbelievable. I don't know if you saw early in the game, he hit a bomb to McLaren, and McLaren's reaction coming down that field, it was just joyous. Like, it was joyous. Guys are buying into this Daniels. And I mean, so am I. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I mean, this number's creeping down. It was higher. I think it probably hits a 3 here before long. I think Washington's the right side here. Oddly enough, I was saying pre-flop on a bunch of, I watch a lot of podcasts. Football's all I do. And a bunch of reputable places were like, well, no, you want to bet the Eagles for the division at minus 110 and tie up your money for 6 months with 5% inflation. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. Sorry for swearing. So I'm like, if you're going to make a futures bet, you make a futures bet on the Washington Commanders, because we don't know what Jalen Daniels is. And we just saw with Stroud last year that it can be done. And you can take a team where visually you don't believe the roster's that good, but you get a good quarterback and he just makes everybody better. The value was in the Washington on the division at plus 1,100. I didn't take it. I should have listened to myself. Not that they're going to win it, but my goodness, why can't they? I mean, Daniels is for real, and I'm sure they're going to have a step back at some point, maybe after this second travel spot. I don't know who they have next week at home. Who do they have on deck? Like, they have the Browns next week. That might be a tough game at home with the Browns coming in with that defense. That might be a spot where we look to fade Washington off this, perceivably, if they get the win here on the road this week, off 2 back-to-back road wins. But regardless, this is still a lot of travel, and probably next week is the week you want to fade them. I'm not fading them this week. I'm gonna take Washington at the 3.5 here.
Before, and I'll line shop for you, a couple questions and interesting ones from the chat. Well, first off, for me, I do not think Eckler plays. An older player with a concussion that was that heavy, so I don't think he's in. So then Spenny says, he wants Brian Robinson Jr. props. So I want to know, do you think that will, because Eckler is a pretty exciting playmaker for them, do you think that will hurt Daniels not having Eckler in the lineup? And Saturated says, don't the Cardinals have an intimate knowledge of how to stop Kingsbury's offense? What do you think of those two?
I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why Gannon would. Gannon came from the NFC East. Like, I don't know why he would have any sort of advantage over like Kyler Murray's not having coaching decisions. So different team, different coaches. They're coming from different parts of the league. I don't see that as if anything, I would think probably Cliff has more of an advantage because he knows some of this roster better, especially Kyler Murray. I would give Cliff kind of the upper hand in this kind of matchup. Now, God, now I'm talking in circles because now Gannon has. I mean, they played Dallas twice a year while he was in Philly, so he understands this Quinn defense. I mean, ultimately, I think it's a wash. Long way to get there, but I mean, that's what happens when you start thinking about this stuff. But yeah, I don't think there's much of a coaching edge here. Honestly, Jimmy, I mean, Daniels is such a weapon on he's like Lamar in a sense where I mean, probably instead of you don't average 20 first downs in a game unless your quarterback, especially with a rookie quarterback, is mobile enough to get some first downs. And I mean, Eckler did well at that kick return he had was beauty. They are going to miss him, and Robinson may play well, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, if I was to do an over rushing prop in this particular spot, it would be on Daniels probably more so than Robinson.
That's such a fascinating breakdown, and it has me in Spenny also on Washington. Very interested in the Commanders. Sweaty Butcher in the house. Great to see you. Jared TG says everyone knows how to stop Kingsbury's offense. He doesn't use any trickery. Lines up in the same formations. The players have to win the reps. He hasn't punted in two games.
This isn't and this isn't Cliff Kingsbury's NFL Cardinal offense. This is Cliff Kingsbury college offense, and it's helping Jalen Daniels this year. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of articles written about it. Go take 5 minutes and Google it. This is not Cliff Kingsbury Arizona NFL offense. This is Cliff Kingsbury's college offense, and it's really resonating with Daniels.
Birdie on the Commanders plus 3.5 minus 109. Birdie and Spenny on the Commanders, and the chat, all the rest of them on the Cardinals. Actually, Gordon Kofsky also with you. Gordon Kofsky, but everybody else on the Cardinals. Fascinating breakdown. No, I feel you, Jared. It's great. No, we want to hear your insights, man. No, it's all good. I love it. We roll on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern is our next spot. Patriots 1-2, 1-1 on the road at the San Francisco 49ers, 1-2, 1-0 at home at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 64 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 11 miles per hour. Troy has moved on the 49ers minus 10 at minus 110. Minus 10 at minus 110. And I moved earlier before Sunday's games played on the under 40.5 in Patriots 49ers. Let's get into the line history. This is a 10. It is listed as 10.5 at Pinnacle, but the 10.5 is with the Patriots minus 117 and the 49ers plus 104. At this number at 10.5, there's been an 11-cent move to the New England Patriots. On the total here, we have a 41 now. This total has been all over the place. Opened up at 40. Went down to 39. I felt pretty good about that. That was 39 this morning, Wednesday morning at 10:59. Since then, there's been a 2-point move to the over. So a lot of movement here on the total, U-shaped movement. From a cash flow scenario, we have 33% of the tickets, 34% of the cash on the Patriots, 73% of tickets, 70% of cash on the over. Here we go. Red zone offense, 28th in the league at 33.3%. 53%. Patriots red zone offense. Patriots red zone defense tied for 16th at 55.6%. Third down offense tied for 23rd at 33.3%. Third down defense 29th. Hard to think of this Patriots defense being so bad on third down, 51.2%. Now, a lot of that is the Jets going 10 of 15. But Patriots come in off extra rest and prep after a horrific 24-3 loss at the Jets on Thursday night. And they were destroyed right from the hop. In the first half, the Jets outgained the Patriots 252-40. 17 first downs to New England's 4. Fewest first downs the Patriots have had in any half since 2000. And the final stats were the same. New York finished with 400 yards, New England's 139. 27 first downs to the Patriots, 11. Jacoby Brissett, 12 of 18, 98 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. With 4:24 left in the game, we got our first regular season look at Drake May. He went 4 of 8 for 22 yards. Demario Douglas looked like the only weapon the Pats had, which is strange because Ramondre Stevenson's been so good this year. But Demario Douglas looked like the only weapon. He caught 7 passes for 69 yards. No one else caught for more than 19. The running game that had looked so good through the first 2 weeks could not be utilized because the Pats were playing from behind all game long. They all combined to run 15 times for 78 yards. And Ramondre Stevenson did lose a fumble. It was their first game after losing linebacker Jawan Bentley. They lost him for the season, and they got torched for 400 yards and 27 first downs. I don't want to get carried away too much with that. The Bills lost Terrell Bernard, and they allowed 10 points to the Jags. Maybe it was just a tough spot in New York for Aaron Rodgers, his chance to throw his first touchdown passes, at MetLife. The pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. The Jets were 3 of 4 in the red zone. Michael Jordan, their left guard, left in the fourth quarter with a knee injury. He's listed as questionable this week. Then we get to the Niners. Red zone offense tied for 15th at 50%. Red zone defense tied at 21st, 60%. Their third down offense is tied for 11th at 41.2%. Their third down defense. The San Francisco third down defense is 30th in the league, allowing opponents to get a first down 52.9% of the time. Obviously the stats were different when I made this bet before Sunday's play, but to come in here right now and have the Patriots defense 29, third down defense 29th in the league, and the 49ers defense 30th in the league is shocking. 49ers coming off their second straight loss, 27-24 at the Rams, to fall under 500 for the first time in the Brock Purdy era, seemingly in control until outscored 20-3 over the final 19 minutes. It was the first time the 49ers blew a 14-point lead since 2018. They outgained the 49ers 425-296. Purdy was 22 of 30 for 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 10 times for 41 yards. He also lost a fumble, but I thought he played really well. I was shocked that they ended up losing that game. I mean, I was on the Rams plus 6.5, but the outright loss shocked me. Now, Brock Purdy came out of the game with back soreness. The MRI came back clean. He'll be day-to-day this week. We all expect him to play. McCaffrey, Debo, and Kittle hurt. Juwan Jennings was spectacular. 11 catches for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jordan Mason ran 19 times for 77 yards, caught 2 passes for 11 yards. The 49ers were 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense looked vulnerable in key moments of the game, and then got the bad news that Javon Hargrave suffered a partially torn right tricep. So his injury is going to require surgery. It's likely to bring his 2024 season to the end. Now, he could return to the Niners if they make a deep run in the playoffs. So what are they going to do? They're going to look in-house at first to replace him. Shanahan's bringing up Evan Anderson or T.Y. McGill from the practice roster for a promotion. But, these are mounting losses. The Rams went 5 of 12 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Now, there is some better news. It's not all horrible. George Kittle, who missed Sunday's game with a hamstring injury, he's back to practice this week. And Charvarius Ward, their cornerback, is good to go with knee and hamstring injury. So there is some reinforcements. Take it away for us, Birdie. I'm all ears. We got Nasty Nate's Patriots against my 49ers.
Well, I'm about to let you down. I have nothing in this game. 10's just too much. So, I mean, I can't lay a number at 10 with the Niners with all those injuries. I'm certainly not going to bet on the Patriots. Honestly, I've spent probably 45 minutes on this game today because I know the 49ers are your favorite team, and I just really wanted to have something special to say to you for this game, but unfortunately there is nothing. I will respect folks that have balls enough to bet this game. I am not one of them folks. Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's we're trying to find angles, and if you look too hard and you force something, then it's not a real angle. Troy on the 49ers -10. I lean to the Pats.
You have to, right? You have to.
Yeah. I mean,
You have to. I mean, that's just wait. Like, even if you wait, you might even get a 10.5 or 11 by Saturday or Sunday. I mean, no. And did you hear today McCaffrey's in Germany getting treatment?
yeah.
So, like, he might not be back, man. Like,
Oh,
there's
he's
a
not.
real possibility. Yeah, like, there's a real possibility that he's done. And no Debo. Like, I mean, if Kittle plays, I'd be worried if Kittle didn't play. Like, why can't the Patriots win this game? I know, like, the 49ers defense is good, but they're even struggling, and they've got a bunch of injuries up front. And they have a divisional game next week. So, like, I mean, for me, the Patriots is the only way I could look in this game. But fortunately, there's 15 others, and I don't have to get involved in this one. But yeah, I would, if it's me, gun to my head, I'm taking the points.
And we all expect Brissett to be at quarterback here. This
Yeah.
is not the spot, even with the 49ers
No.
beaten up, that you would throw Drake May out there. I mean, you're trying to
Agreed.
build this kid up, not send him out to get slaughtered. So Brissett will be back at quarterback. You know, there's no, I'm going to stick with the under 40.5. I'm pretty lukewarm on it now. I thought it'd be in a much
Well,
better.
how do they get? Who's getting points though? Like, I think that's a great look. Like, there's no way you can bet an over here. How are they scoring points?
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality of it. I don't know how they're going to score points.
Nancy Nate says
Either.
Brissett gets pulled. That's the only way Drake May would come in. You can't put. I think it's just too much pressure in San Francisco. A fascinating spot where I do have some interest in the Pats, but I don't know if I get to the window. Ian Cameron in the house says Troy is great on the show and missed, but man, awesome and phenomenal work so far tonight filling in. Birdie, great job from our
Thanks,
guy
Bobano.
Ian Cameron. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. And this one I've already bet. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Cleveland Browns 1-2, 1-0 on the road at the Las Vegas Raiders, 1-2, 0-1 at home, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. My sides have been poor this year. My totals have kept me close to the black, but I'm on the Raiders here. I think there are some serious issues going on in Cleveland, and the Raiders with the bounce back opportunity at home appealed to me. I got in last night, and I almost didn't bet it, but then I couldn't sleep. I was like, no, get it in. Get. I wanted the over 45 on Thursday night in, and I wanted the Raiders in, and I got up and bet it. It's moved in my favor now. I got it at minus 110. When I saw it this morning at 365, it was minus 130 on the money line. Let's take a look at it right now. We'll start with the total for this spot. We have a 37.5, a minus 115 to the under. This opened up at 39, dropped to 37.5. You know, that makes sense to me. On the spread, we have a minus 2 now. They opened up the Raiders a plus 1 at Pinnacle. Remember, Pinnacle puts their lines out after Sunday's games are over. You know, from a money line position, because a lot of people got better lines than my minus 110. And at the time, it was minus 110 at Pinnacle and 365. Now it's minus 126 at Pinnacle. It opened up at plus 101. It got up to minus 129. We've had 3 cents of buyback, but minus 126. So a big move to the under and a big move to the Raiders. From a cash flow angle, we have on the money line 44% of the tickets and 61% of the cash on the Browns. So more money's on the Browns and the line's moving to the Raiders. Same on the spread. 46% of the tickets, 68% of the cash on the spread on the Browns. And on the total, it's all on the over, despite the market keep opening their arms to over his cash. 83% of tickets on the over, 80% of cash on the over. Spenny says Cleveland loses another guard with Teller out and Garrett hurting. Let's break it down. We'll start with the Browns. The funny thing about the Browns' red zone offense is it's first in the NFL, but they've only been there 4 times. So they're 4 for 4. They were there once in each of their last 2 games. They were there twice in game 1 at home against the Cowboys. Their red zone defense 16th in the league at 55.6%. So we take their red zone offense with a grain of salt. Their third down offense is the worst in the NFL, 32nd and 18.6%. And their third down defense that has been so monstrous for so long is still very strong, 29.7%. So you can trust them to get stops on third down. You can't trust them to get first downs on third down. But their third down offense being the worst in the league is showing. They coming off an ugly 21-15 loss at home to the Giants, and injuries are taking its toll. This depleted offensive line got destroyed to the tune of 8 New York Giants sacks and 17 quarterback hits. Now, I know the Raiders' defense line is hurting with Max Crosby with a high ankle sprain. Max Crosby may not be in the lineup. But it didn't matter to me. That's how weak this offensive line is. I shouldn't say it didn't matter. It didn't matter enough for me to not want to fade the Cleveland Browns here. Cleveland's starting left tackle, Jedrick Wills Jr., knee injury. Right guard, Wyatt Teller, knee injury. They get hurt, along with backup tackle James Hudson III. So Wyatt Teller has a grade 2 MCL sprain, and he's going to miss multiple weeks. They're waiting for updates on Jedrick Wills and James Hudson, but it's not going to be good. To finish out the game against the Giants, they moved Joel Bitonio to left tackle from left guard, Ethan Pochik from center to left guard. Nick Harris had to come in at center with Pochik moving over. Then they have rookie Zach Zinter filling in for Teller at right guard. DeJuan Jones, who was benched to open the second half because of how lousy he was playing, had to come back in for Hudson at right tackle. Now, Jack Conklin can help. He was listed as questionable to play on Sunday along with Wills as they came back from last season's knee injuries. Conklin was downgraded out on Saturday because of a hamstring injury. So Conklin could come back, and that would be a big deal to the Browns. That's possible. Deshaun Watson went 21 to 37 for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran 4 times for 26 yards. Watson has taken 16 sacks through 3 games. He's been hit 42 times through 3 games. The offense only put up 217 yards. Cooper caught 7 for 86 and 2 touchdowns. No one else did anything. Jerome Ford ran 10 times for 37 yards, caught 3 for 33. They hope to get Njoku back. He's missed 2 weeks with an ankle injury. And then Myles Garrett is being bothered by foot injuries. And it looks like he's going to be day-to-day until the end of the year. The MRIs keep coming back clean, but he's clearly ailing. He's the defensive player of the year, and he played 58% of the team snaps against the Giants. And important stretches where they needed him, he's out on the sidelines. Pass rush got 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Garrett didn't get a sack, but he did get 3 of the quarterback hits. They allowed the Giants to go 3 of 4 in the red zone. Let's talk about the Raiders. Red zone offense, 5th in the league at 71.4%. Defense, 20th at 58.3%. Third down offense, 25th at 32.4%. And third down defense, 11th at 31.6%. Just barely, their red zone defense, barely ahead of the Browns' red zone defense. The Raiders coming off that ugly 36-22 loss home to the Panthers. It was just a horrific spot for them. Very underwhelming performance after winning at Baltimore the week previous. Minshew was 18 of 28 for 214 yards and touchdown interception, replaced by Aiden O'Connell for that last drive. O'Connell looked good. Drove 9 of 12, went 9 of 12, drove 82 yards and a touchdown. Trey Tucker, he threw for 82 yards and a touchdown, drove the field. Trey Tucker led receivers with 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 7 for 62 and a touchdown. The Vegas running game, which entered last in the league, with a 49-yard average, had just 55 yards. Look, Luke Getzky's conservative play calling, the fans were booing and booing throughout the game. The Raiders were just 3 of 11 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down. Despite their struggles, they still were perfect in the red zone. The defense looked awful. Couldn't get stops. We have Max Crosby with the high ankle sprain. They did finish with 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits, but the Panthers put up 306 yards passing. Panthers went 5 of 12 on third down, 3 of 5 in the red zone. Divine Diablo, oblique concussion, did not play. He could play this week. They lost safety Marcus Epps. Epps went down in the third quarter. He's been placed on injury reserve. He's gone. Right tackle Thayer Munford with knee ankle left the game in the first quarter. He's listed as questionable. Birdie, what are your thoughts on my move on the Raiders? Is the autumn wind a Raider? Take it away, Browns Raiders.
Well, my model has value on the Raiders, so that would be the only way I would go here. And I think, given your breakdown of money and line movement, I think Sunday you're gonna basically know who's gonna win this game. I think if that line doesn't move or it moves up, then I mean the Raiders are a smash spot. If that line starts to come down, I'd be a little leery that the Browns might be the right side. Scares me a little bit that I see Ron Crawford on the Browns. I mean, you got to respect that. But for me, the only way I could look at this game is the Raiders. I mean, you see you just see the body language of those Cleveland Browns. It's just bad. And then you hear Garrett talking about this foot injury and how bad it is, and he gets an MRI and it comes back clean. So like you just start to wonder, right? Like what's happening here in Cleveland? I've seen spots where Watson's lying on the ground and he'll put his hand up and his O-lineman will walk by him. I can't put money on the Cleveland Browns anymore. And it's not because they took me out of Survivor and killed me last week on a million different Survivor pools I'm in. I'm not bitter. But the reality of it is, for me, it's the Raiders or nothing, and I support you. And I fully expect on Sunday to be involved in this game some way on the Raiders.
I like to hear it. Donut Silk says bad vibes in Cleveland at the moment. Saturated says if the red rifle can light up the Raiders, shouldn't the rub down rifle be able to as well? Benjamin Mills says Browns OC's Ken Dorsey, who the Bills ran out of town last season. And, this was a move that I wanted to make. I wanted to lock in. I think that the Browns are going to find a way to get out of the Deshaun contract with the new charges. It's going to be tricky, but it will save them a chunk load of cash. They'll still have dead cap money, but
$172 million next year in dead money. $172 million.
And that cuts down to, I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's 56 if they're able to get rid of them with these new charges. We'll go down to 56.
I don't want them to. I hope they're stuck with it. They should never assign the clown in the first place.
I can understand. I can understand both sides of the coin on that one. I'm on the Raiders money line. I got it at -110, and I got it,
Nice.
at midnight last night. So maybe 1 a.m. last night. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs 3-0, 1-0 on the road at Los Angeles Chargers 2-1, 1-0 at home. SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California. Red zone offense 22nd in the league for the Chiefs, 44.4%. Their red zone defense 13th at 41.7%. All of their stats are of a middling average football team. Third down offense 21st league at 35.5%. Their third down defense middling 36.1%. But they're 3-0, confident as can be, because they have a spectacular coach quarterback combination that will go down in history. Take a look at the line history right now. The Chargers are +7.5 and -116. At the +7.5, this has gone 10 cents towards the Chargers. Now, my dad is a Chargers season ticket holder, and he sent me $200 to place on the Chiefs -7.5. He knows intimately what's going on with the Chargers, and I don't know what to do. I've spent so much of my life not sending in his action and putting it in my pocket, and this one I'm just stuck. I was like, should I just send it in? I don't know what to do. So I figured, you know what? Give it a little bit more time. It doesn't look like at this point it's like we're going to get enough injury information yet. And hear what you guys have to say. He has been taking me to the bank over the last 16 months or so. He's been on a pretty good run. Let's get into the total here in this one. From a total side of things, this is a 39.5. It is -108 to the over. It's been an 8-cent move towards the over. Ron Crawford says pocket that shit. You know that's what I want to do, Ron. That's all I want to do, right? I don't because I don't want to start picking the times he's going to win now. I'm too deep in the game, Ron. 66% of the tickets, 60% of the cash is on the Chiefs. And we've had a 10-cent move at the 7.5 towards the Chargers. 66% of tickets and 52% of cash is on the over. And we are moving towards the under. So the Chiefs come in undefeated. They've won their 3 games by a combined 13 points. We last saw them in 22-17 victory at Atlanta. I'm not going to get caught up in that third down that should have been pass interference. It just, these plays happen and you can't leave it to one moment. And the Chiefs are 3-0 for a reason. Mahomes was 26 of 39 for 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rashee Rice caught 12 for 110 and a touchdown. No one else caught more than Travis Kelce's 4 catches for 30 yards. His season total under 850 is pretty good. Jealousy bets are spite bets. Jealousy bets. The ROI for me is insane. It's very good. Carson Steele did a great job trying to replace Isaiah Pacheco. Ran 17 times for 72 yards. This great story about the game going on while his sister was getting married. He was supposed to be at the wedding. No one thought he'd be starring, for the Chiefs, and they had the game on during the wedding. I mean, what a cool story! And congratulations to Carson Steele for having character and heart, fight his way onto an NFL team and get the opportunity to play and be ready when he gets called on. Samaje Perine chipped in 6 carries, 25 yards, caught 3 balls, 15 yards. Chiefs ran 16 more plays than the Falcons and won the time possession 34-57 to 25-03. The defense was strong again, held the Falcons to 2 of 9 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks, but 10 quarterback hits, and Connor had a pick. Talk about these Chargers and what a mess. It's a very messy situation. Red zone offense, 24th in the league at 42.9%. Red zone defense, 2nd in the league at 20%. Third down offense, 16th in the league at 38.1%. Third down defense, 12th at 32.5%. This is a beat-up squad coming off their first loss of the season, 2010 at the Steelers. Outgained 346 to 168, and Herbert is banged up. He started despite the high ankle sprain. He was pulled late in the third quarter after a sack by linebacker Landon Roberts. Clearly left him limping. The story is that he could have played, but they'd already lost Joel Alt, their 5th overall pick. They're going up against the Steelers. Get him out. Get him out of there. Even if he doesn't play this week, because they have the bye next week. Mm-hmm. So now Herbert wants to show how much heart he has, and Harbaugh loves heart. So the MRI came back negative. He hasn't been ruled out yet. I mean, and he had a limited practice today. So the Chargers get their bye week after this. Heineke has leapfrogged Easton Stick on the depth chart, so he'll be in. He came in the fourth quarter against Steelers, went 2 for 2 for 24 yards. Quentin Johnson caught 2 for 44 and a touchdown. Ladd McConkey caught 3 for 44 yards. The Chargers offensive line couldn't handle the Steelers pass rush. Finished 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and as I said, Alt has a sprained MCL. So he's expected to hopefully just miss week 4 and then have the bye week, and then hopefully he's back week 6. You don't want to push that too much. He's a superstar in the making. J.K. Dobbins ran 15 times for 44 yards. The offense was just 3 of 11 on third down. The defense allowed the Steelers to rack up 346 yards on offense, go 7 of 14 on third down. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Dupree had an interception. The Chargers D was strong in the red zone again, but holding the Steelers to 1-4, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Joey Bosa aggravated the hip issue that's been nagging him. First drive, he didn't return. He's listed as questionable this week. And then they got the bad news Monday night that safety Derwin James is suspended by the NFL. 1 game for repeated violations of playing rules intended to protect the health and safety of players. Take it away, Birdie. Should I send in Pops as action? Are you moving on Chiefs Chargers?
I am, but not on a side. It's just too bad that the Chargers aren't healthy here, because, man, it would have been nice to see a full health versus full health. I mean, the Chiefs are kind of still struggling to figure it out. It could have been a really nice spot here for the Chargers. I mean, I can't get involved on the side here. Chargers just have way too many injuries, and they'd be foolish to let Herbert play. I mean, he doesn't have to prove he's a warrior. All you have to do is put on tape of the last 3 years, and the kid's getting close to being at the point where it's going to be tough for him to recover. He's had some serious injuries and played through it all. He's just a warrior. But I think Andy Reid is smart enough not to take advantage of this situation, to be honest. I know this might not be a popular angle, but they have to play them again. They're a division opponent. I don't see Andy running up the score here on a Chargers team that's just riddled with injuries. I just don't see what value there is for him. Like, people are getting so worked up about Kelsey not having points and the Chiefs looking like but the Chiefs are 3-0. Like, they're gonna figure this stuff out. It's not about playing your best football in week 4. It's amping it up and hitting that time towards the end of the year where you can get rolling in the playoffs, just like they did last year, just like they did the year before that. So I see a lot of people getting worried about Kelsey and thinking this is the weekend. They don't care about Kelsey and his yards. All they care about is winning. And because they have to play this team again, I mean, why give them any motivation because you humiliated them when they had a B roster on the field? There just makes no sense to do that from the Chief perspective. Now, it could happen anyway. I mean, the Chargers are banged up that much. But for me, the true value in this game is the under. Now, I think you got to wait till Herbert is ruled in or ruled out, if you want. But I'm comfortable taking the number now because I'm comfortable betting it under again when Herbert is probably announced in, because God forbid they give the kids some rest. But I'll just put it in perspective. So there is a Chiefs tax. We talk about it all the time, but not often do we really get to see what we're talking about here. So if you look at what the Chargers team total is, it's 13.5. So when I did this, the total was 39.5. So that would make the Chiefs team total 26.5. That's how you get to your total. But when you go look, the Chiefs team total is 24.5. We already have 2 points baked into this under. Like, it's right there. The books are telling us they're giving us 2 points of value to the under. I mean, like you said earlier, we're looking for angles. I'm happy taking the 2 points here. And I'll bet it again when Herbert comes back. It's only getting better if he comes back because the number will go up. So yeah, I'm on the under. Like, I just can't get past like the fact that books are already giving us 2 free points here. So I'd be an idiot to pass that up.
I love the breakdown. And I love the sentiment from the chat. So yeah, I'll keep it. I'll pocket it, man. See how it bangs out. I'll pocket the Pops' action. Birdie on the under 40 at minus 109, and I find that appealing. I may wait because
yeah, if Herbert gets in, that's going up to 42 and a half. For sure it is. Yeah,
and
100%.
Limited at practice is a pretty good thing on a Wednesday with a high ankle sprain.
Absolutely. He's a statue back there. And I mean, you've got and then we're not talking about 2 run-of-the-mill offensive linemen here. We're talking about 2 elite offensive linemen that they have to have because they have no wide receivers. So, I mean, this line's still going to go up based off his news, and I think you just get a better number if you wait.
We can get you an under 40 at minus 109 available right now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
109. I'm interested in joining. Let's move on to our Sunday nighter. Buffalo Bills at Baltimore Ravens. It's a beauty. We also have a big Thursday nighter this week that we are all extremely excited about, because not only are we going to be watching the Cowboys at the Giants, we have a poker tournament that we're excited about. It's a free roll. BetOnline's giving us our own promo code, PSR ticket. I'm going to play it while we're live betting the football game. Top 5 players get in their autumn series final, their big tournament, $400,000 minimum tournament. So join us in that poker tournament, free roll on Thursday. Saturated, who's in the chat right now, he's already qualified for the $400,000 tournament. He made top 5 last Thursday. So join us for that. Let's talk about our Sunday nighter. And do we ever have a beauty on our hands? 8 p.m. Eastern, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Troy is on the Ravens, minus 2.5 at minus 110. He's locked in. It's another situation where we're dealing with showers, 70 Fahrenheit showers, 5 miles per hour. We need to keep an eye on weather. Let's get into the line history here. This total is at 46. It opened up at 46. There's been 5 cents of movement to the over. It's gone from minus 109 to minus 114. So very, very slight move to the over. And on the spread, we have a 2.5. You can get Baltimore minus 2.5 right now. Oh, wow. Okay, no, it's back. Sorry. Jeez, I didn't realize that it moved. Okay, so this opened up at -1, got to 2. I saw it at 2.5 this morning. Then it moved to 1.5. I didn't realize that. It was 1.5 from 9:58 a.m. until just 10:30 a.m. Until it went back to 2.5. So some money must have come in on the Bills, and then the Ravens got hammered again, and the books corrected it immediately. So we have from the opening line, 1.5 point move to the Baltimore Ravens, a real legit move to the Ravens, a 5-cent move to the over. So a much smaller move. On the cash flow, you have 77% of tickets and 79% cash on the Bills. And anybody watching the Bills play, why wouldn't you have money on the Bills? But the market moving in the direction of this smaller group that's on the Ravens. 62% of tickets and 89% cash on the over. Let's talk about the Bills. Red zone offense, second in the league, 77%. Red zone defense, 7th, 33.3%. Third down offense, 10th, 41.4%. And third down defense, 22nd at 39%. Bills coming off very impressive 47-10 victory at home over the Jaguars. Josh Allen got whatever he wanted all game long. Well, until he left and Trubisky took over. He finished 23 of 30 for 263 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also ran 6 times for 44 yards. He only attempted 2 passes after halftime before Mitchell Trubisky relieved him. Those unders in those lopsided games are beautiful. I mean, we sustained the Mac Jones fumble, like a gifted 7 points, and still got to that under 57.5. Now, there has to be those 4 down stops, but it just seems in every situation that we get those. Obviously, it could go the other way. Another thing about Josh Allen is without Stephon Diggs ranting and raving, he 4 different touchdown receivers. Kincaid caught one, Coleman caught one, Shakir caught one, Ty Johnson caught one. Is that the happiest sideline you've ever seen in the history of your life after DeMar Hamlin had that interception? I mean, that group is happy to play with each other, man. Allen has 230 touchdowns now, passing and rushing and receiving. He's 1 short of matching Patrick Mahomes for the most by player in the first 7 NFL seasons. He's going to end up with more. He's going to end up with 40 more by the end of the year. I mean, it's pretty impressive what he's doing. Khalil Shakir caught 6 passes for 72 yards and a touchdown. James Cook ran 11 times for 39 yards and a touchdown, caught 4 for 48. I don't know why I undervalued him when he came over last year. It was a very big mistake. Bills went 4-5 in the red zone. The defense looked excellent despite not having Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano. You know, of course, they lost Milano preseason, but these are 2 monster linebackers, and they just don't miss a beat. The defense limited Jacksonville to 70 yards, 5 first downs, and 5 field goals in their first 5 possessions. Pass rush finished with 5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. They held the Jags to 2 of 13 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. Talk about the Ravens. Red zone offense tied for 10th at 60%. Red zone defense 21st at 60%. Third down offense tied for 11th at 41.2%. Third down defense 25th at 44.1%. Ravens come in off their first win of the season, 28-25 at the Cowboys. They were 0-2 for the first time since 2015. That was 3 years before they drafted Lamar Jackson. They were up 28-6 until a Cowboy comeback over the past 9 minutes fell short. They ran the ball down the Cowboys' throats. Finished with 45 carries for 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the first Baltimore back to score at least 1 touchdown in each of his first 3 games. Lamar Jackson was 12 of 15 for 182 yards, touchdown, ran 14 times for 87 yards and touchdown. Nelson Aguilar led receivers with 1 catch for 56 yards. Mark Andrews continued this very quiet start, 0 catches, 1 target. And it wasn't like Likely was getting action either. There was no receptions going to the tight ends. Mark Andrews now through 3 games, 6 catches for 65 yards. The defense looked strong until the 4th. Cowboys ended up with 412 total yards, 361 through the air, and went 7 of 13 on third down. Kyle Van Noy. I mean, what a heart and soul character piece for the defense. He's just money in the bank. Another big game, 2 sacks. Ravens finished with 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Jalen Armour-Davis, their quarterback, injured his hamstring, didn't return. He hasn't practiced all this week, but this is a pretty healthy group. Take it away for us, Birdie. Our Sunday nighter. What a beauty we have in store. Join us for our live stream, 7:20 p.m. Eastern. It starts. The game starts at 8:20. Take it away, Bills, Ravens.
I love that you use the word beauty. That's what I write my first sentence here. Yeah, this is going to be a great game. I think probably people are probably struggling to understand how the Bills aren't favored here. Maybe not. I mean, without question, the Bills so far, the first 3 games have looked the best team in the NFL. Allen's already at the front of the MVP. Like there's nothing to not like about the Buffalo Bills, and rightfully so. I mean, they've looked really good. They've been fortunate. I mean, that offense has been fortunate that they've played some fairly vanilla defenses and definitely not physical defenses. And they've been able to take advantage of that because they're not getting punched in the mouth, and they're going to get punched in the mouth this week by that Ravens defense. And I think that matters. If we were to play this game maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now, I might feel a little differently after the Bills kind of gotten hardened a little, but I think they need this game. Honestly, from a physicality standpoint, because even their defense have had very soft offenses to play, a lot of vanilla offense as well. So they've been able to benefit from that. And I saw Espinosa was back. Did you know that? He played last week. That shocked me. He played really well. And the other encouraging thing for that Bills defense is, the goddamn Von Miller he's getting sacks in every game now. I was seeing, his times are back to like 2021 times for getting pressure on quarterback. He's quietly kind of really reinvented himself, and if he gets going and that's consistent and that's real, the Bills are for real. Let's not lose sight of that. But I just think this game is going to be a step up in class. They're going to get punched in the mouth here, and I still think the Bills defense has to prove they can stop the power run game, because they are light up the middle. But then, as I say, I saw Espinosa back, and that's going to make a difference here. So I am a little bit worried, but I am on the Ravens here. This is kind of a pick 'em line for me. I'm not happy about this play at all, but it's a play that I have to make. Sometimes you have to respect the sharp action, and when it got bought back and then immediately bought back on the other side with the Ravens, you got to. So that's a group of people that really, really believe in this Ravens play this week. So that's good enough for me, even though I don't like it. Learning my lessons in my old age, I hope. It is what it is. Sometimes you got to take games you don't like. So I'll be on the Ravens here at -2. And if the Bills win by 20, it won't surprise me.
Bills are playing so good. It's wild watching this line move. We can get you a -2 at -111.
Perfect. I'll
-2
take it.
on the Ravens at -111.
What's the money line, Jimmy? What's the money line?
The money line on the Ravens is -133.
Okay, I'll take the 2.
Take the 2 at -111. Great to see Dennis Garcia in the house joining us. Julio Villa, Ziggy Balls. Thank you guys for rolling with us. Kent Davis says 3 Ravens offensive linemen did not practice today. From the info I have, the way, and it's tricky getting this information. They're a pretty healthy group, but I will look into that a little farther. Okay. Let's roll here. Birdie on the Ravens, as well as Troy on the Ravens. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. It's our first game of the double dip on Monday night. Monday, September 30th, 2024. We start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with the Tennessee Titans at the Miami Dolphins. I know a lot of our action will be on the second half of the double dip. Let's roll here. Monday, September 30th, 2024, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Titans, Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. 83 Fahrenheit isolated thunderstorm, so probably won't be an issue. 6 miles per hour. Troy has moved on the under 36.5 on this one. Let's get into the line history here. The Dolphins sitting at -1. They opened up at +1, so they've gone from dog to favorite over at Pinnacle. Probably a better example of this is on the money line. On the money line, we have the Dolphins at -117. They opened up at -101. 16 cents of movement towards the Miami Dolphins. Let's get into the cash flow here for this one. Dennis Garcia did move on Miami money line. Tyler Huntley could start for Miami. That's being talked about. We'll discuss that here. Then from a cash flow standpoint, you have 75% of the tickets and 88% of the cash on the Titans on the spread, line moving away from that. You have 57% of tickets and 31% of cash on the money line on the Titans. Again, the line moving away from that. And then you have 22% of tickets and 77% of cash on the under. 22 and 77 on the under, and Troy on the under. I don't know if I mentioned it. Let's take another look. That's 36.5 right now, and it opened up at 37.5. We have a 1-point move to the under, a very low number. We're going to start with the Titans. Red zone offense tied for 15th at 50%. Red zone defense being strong at 7th, 33.3%. Their third down offense 27th at 31.4%. Third down defense at 30.8%. And the Titans have a bye next week. And psychologically, you have to think that they just want to get away. And that was something that kind of was making the cap a little tricky. Do you think these guys want to go all out for Brian Callahan and for Will Levis? I don't know the answer to that. And I'm trying to figure it out. Because I don't like, as I said earlier, I don't like backing teams before a bye week. Unless there's unless they're like, we got to get this win before the bye. Like, there's certain angles that I see that a lot. And is this one of them? Are they all in? I don't know, because I had high hopes for this team coming into the year. They coming off ugly 30-14 home loss to the Packers. This is the Titans' worst start since losing their first 6 games in 2009. Will Levis, through 3 games, 8 turnovers. 2 of those interceptions have been returned for touchdowns. And that was the backbreaker, the Jair Alexander pick 6. 26 for 34 for 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And he also, lost a fumble. DeAndre Hopkins got 6 for 73 and a touchdown. He's got weapons. Titans got nothing out of their running game. 11 carries for 33 yards, because let Will Levis try to beat you. Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Pack the box. The Titans only put up 237 total yards, went 3 of 9 on third down, and they couldn't stop the run. Packers gouged them for 188 yards on the ground. The Packers put up 378 yards and 6.4 yards per play with Malik Willis at quarterback. Pass rush got 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. They held the Packers to 1-3 in the red zone. Chidobe Awuzie, their cornerback, hurt a groin muscle early, didn't return. He's going to be out multiple weeks. And Jeffrey Simmons suffered an elbow injury in the 30-14 loss. He's listed as day-to-day. Let's talk about the Fish. Red zone offense tied for 31st in the league at 25%. Red zone defense 30th in the league at 85.7%. Horrible. A third down offense 37.2%. Third down defense is really strong at 26.7%. Their third down offense abysmal. Third down defense very good. The Dolphins coming off an extremely ugly 24-3 loss at Seattle. They finished with just 205 yards total yards. They were 1 play away from it being a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. So it's not as bad as the score sounds. Skylar Thompson was terrible. 13 and 19 for 107 yards. He was sacked 5 times, had a quarterback rating of 82.6. He left the game in the third quarter with a rib injury. He's day-to-day. Boyle replaced him for the end of the third and fourth quarter. He completed 7 of 13 passes for 79 yards. It's hard to believe you want to go into battle with Boyle as your starting quarterback. 0 of 5 and 5 career starts. 4 touchdown passes and 12 interceptions in his career. So they also have Snoop. I know you guys all want Huntley out there if you want to back the Dolphins. And I can understand that. I mean, you want to talk about records. He's 3-6 in 9 starts. He has 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, but he's got 509 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. And he also has the ridiculous Pro Bowl nod in 2022, a 2-2 record there, but that's ridiculous. We don't even get into that. Tyreek Hill led receivers with 3 catches for 40 yards. Devon Achane had 11 carries for 30 yards. The Dolphins' offense was just anemic. 1 of 12 on third down, 0 of 3 on fourth. They went 0 of 2 in the red zone. The defense tried to keep the Dolphins in it. They held Seahawks to 3 of 11 on third down. Pass rush finished at 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Cole and Zach Sealer had picks. Dolphins lost starting left tackle Tron Armstead and cornerback Kendall Fuller to concussions. Both are in concussion protocol. You think that Tron Armstead's going to push hard to come back for this? I mean, no, I don't. Now, maybe I shouldn't be questioning his character, but I don't. Take it away for us here, Birdie. Titans, Dolphins.
Yeah, I was just trying to look up. Do you remember what that spread was last year? Nicholas Earls smashed that Tennessee money line. Was that like 14, Miami minus 14 in that game? I was looking for that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what was it?
Yeah, I can get it. It'll take a.
Okay, I'll just keep talking. So I think it was around 13.
It was. Yeah.
So you're telling me that losing Tua is worth 13 points to a line or 12 points to a line. I mean, not even 6 months ago, the Dolphins were laying 13 points here.
13 and a half.
Um, I I think the Dolphins are the look here. I agree with Dennis. Uh, I won't be betting it. I just, but I'm the more I've been thinking about this and listening to you and reading the chat, the more I think the Dolphins are probably the right look here. Because I mean, that's a pretty big overreaction for on a line just based off losing Tua. I don't care who's playing quarterback. No quarterback in the NFL is worth 12 points. And I mean, like I said, not even 6 months ago, Tennessee was getting plus 13 and a half points. So I don't know why this should be one. I mean, this probably should be more of 6.5, I would think. And that would be still probably the low end based off not having Tua. So yeah, I think Miami's the only look here.
Are you going to invest money on this, or do you want to know who's a quarterback first?
Hell no. Hell no. No. There's way others. I've made more bets this week. I don't need to bet this one. I'll support Dennis and his Miami play because I just don't understand the line here.
And Troy on the under 36 and a half in this one. RVD 420 saying primetime Mondays games go over. First game, he's leaning over. Second game, over for him. Let's roll into that second game right now. And this is a nice one for our double header Monday live stream. This one is at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We have the Seattle Seahawks 3-0, 1-0 on the road. Detroit Lions 2-1, 1-1 at home. We're at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. And Troy has hammered the Detroit Lions. He's on the Detroit Lions first half minus 2.5. He's on them full game minus 3.5, full game minus 4. And he has a Lions Jets money line parlay at plus 108, all official picks for record keeping purposes. Let's get into the Lion history here. Seattle is a rich history, given the Lions trouble. This total is at 45.5. It's already dropped from 48. A huge 2.5 point drop on this total. On a point spread perspective, we are sitting here with the Lions minus 3.5 and minus 106. They opened minus 4.5 and minus 106. So there's been a 1 point move towards the Seahawks. That move came this morning at 8:56 a.m. So it's interesting that Troy is so bullish here. And maybe we can hear more about it later in the week. Dennis Garcia bet Detroit minus 3.5 and the under 47. Ron Crawford moved on the Lions minus 3.5. Al Cervic saying the Lions are the spot. Wow. Very, very interesting. The bullishness for these Detroit Lions. Let's talk about the Seahawks. Oh, did I go over the cash flow? Let's get that cash flow up here for our last one. We have 40% of the tickets and 58% of the cash on the Lions. We have 35% of tickets and 27% cash on the over. So 65 and 73 on the under, and we see it dropping so quickly. So it's interesting. Our sharp cappers here on the Lions, and yet we're back at 3.5 instead of moving towards or sticking to that 4.5. Aaron Gaza on the other side here. And Stacking Cream says Sun God 100 plus receiving yards and any time touchdown. Let's talk about the Seahawks. Red zone offense 15th in the league at 50%. Red zone defense has been excellent. Mike McDonald has this defense rolling. Now you could talk about the strength of their competition, but red zone defense 4th at 30%. Third down offense 19th at 36.8%, and their third down defense 4th in the league at 26.1%. What Mike McDonald has done is impressive. I mean, come on. 2-game division lead after 3 games in the perfect start. Geno Smith and Dougie Wise also coming in on Seattle plus 3.5. Geno Smith was 26 of 34 for 289 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. DK Metcalf finished with 4 catches and 104 yards in a touchdown. Noah Fant 6 for 60. With Kenneth Walker still hurt, now he's not on IR, he's just hurt. Zach Charbonnet, 18 carries for 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 for 16 yards. It was impressive. Seattle still struggling on third down, finishing 3 of 11, but they were perfect 2 of 2 in the red zone, and their defense has been excellent. Seattle is the first team since the Steelers in 1979 to start 3-0 and hold each of those opponents to under 150 passing yards. Their pass rush was very strong versus the Dolphins, 6 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. They held the Dolphins to 1 of 12 on third down, 0 of 3 on fourth, and 0 of 2 in the red zone. But they lost significant depth on the defensive line. They lost rookie first-round pick Brian Murphy to a hamstring injury, and Leonard Williams' ribs lost him in the first half. And they're both listed as questionable this week. They're not on IR or anything like that, but they're both listed as questionable. Dennis Garcia says Seattle's 3-0, but really? Bo Nix, New England has no offense. Skylar Thompson, Seattle isn't this good. Detroit, a good team, should root them. And Birdie knows I'm as low on Detroit as anyone. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions because their stats are wild. Their red zone offense, 26th in the league, 38.5%. Red zone defense, 15th at 50%. Third down offense, 5th in the league at 45.2%. And their third down defense is 3rd in the league right now at 25.8%. And they have their bye next week. So I know these guys want to play for Campbell. I know that they're all in here. So this isn't one of the spots where I'm like, oh, I don't like a team, planning their trips, because these guys play for Dan Campbell. Coming off a crucial 2013 victory at Arizona, they're averaging 18.7 points in regulation. Wild. They've scored 3 points this season in the fourth quarter. Goff completed his first 14 passes before an incompletion in the third quarter. That was his longest streak without an incompletion to start a game in his 9-year career. He finished 18 of 23 for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, caught 7 passes for 75 yards and touchdown. But this David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs combo is looking extremely strong. That was combined 39 carries for 188 yards. They have different skill sets. They're very talented. That helped them hold on to the ball for 36 minutes and 49 seconds of the game. You're going to win those games. Now, Sammy Laporta came out of the game multiple times limping, had ice on his right ankle, but it looks like he's going to be fine. The defense stepped up when it mattered most. The Lions held the Cards to 1 of 9 on third down, 0 of 2 on fourth down, and they're doing it with injuries. You think that they're becoming weaker and weaker, but it's just stop after stop. Kirby Joseph had an interception. Aiden Hutchinson's a monster, had another sack, 6.5 through 3 games. Now, that was the Lions' lone sack. But defensive end, Marcus Davenport, surprise, surprise, will miss the rest of the season with an elbow injury. This guy just doesn't stay healthy these days. I don't know why people got too excited about him early in the year. But linebacker Derek Barnes, this guy is a 25-year-old monster. He's going to miss a significant amount of time with a knee injury. That's 2 big losses. And they were so good defensively without Alex Anzalone. He listed as questionable again this week. You have to think with Barnes out, Anzalone got to be in. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with our chat, Birdie, who are bullish on these Detroit Lions?
No. So, yeah, you're going to hear a lot this week that Seattle's fake because of the 3 games they've played already. So you have a rookie head coach, a rookie DC, a rookie OC. It's going to take time, man. Like, they brought in a new defensive system, new offensive system, 3 rookie coaches, and they're 3-0. I don't care who they played. That's not recipe for success in the NFL when you're that young and you're that inexperienced and you're coming into a culture left from a Hall of Fame coach and you completely change the defensive system and the offensive system. Like, people were high on Seattle at the beginning of the year, and I listen, I agree with it. But it's going to take some time, and we've got 3 games. And for me, the eye test is gotten better every game. Yes, they played Skyler last week, but that Miami defense is still the Miami defense. It's still a professional defense that's not really as banged up as their offense, obviously. And that Seattle offense took a step forward last week. They just did. They've gotten progressively better, and there's no reason to think that coming into game 4 they're not going to continue to improve, which I believe they are. And then you have McDonald, who, if you look back to last year, the one defensive coordinator that just stymied the Lions was the Ravens, and He understands how to game plan this offense. Now he doesn't have the same sort of talent. I get that, but the concepts are the same. He can coach it up the same. But here's the big thing for me is Seattle does have a new offensive system, no question, but they have the exact same skill position players. And in the last 3 games against the Detroit Lions, Geno Smith and that skill group has put up 37 points, 48 points, and 51 points on this Lions defense that has had the same defensive coordinator and essentially the same roster that Seattle's played the last 3 years. I think we're getting caught up a little bit too much on what Seattle's done on defense, and we're just entirely losing sight of the fact that this Seattle offense that normally struggles turns into Joe Montana or Kurt Warner in The Greatest Show on Turf when they play the Lions. It's there. 37, 48, and 51 points against this Lions defense that's intact and has continuity with no changes since the last time they put up 48 points on them last year. And it's odd to me that we're 3 games into the year having a Lions offense that's been in the same system with the same coordinator for 3 years, and they're struggling to find their identity. Like Goff throwing 55 times in a game, then they decide to run in a game. It just blows my mind that the Lions are struggling to find an offensive identity. When the bye weeks came out and the schedule came out, and I saw they had that early bye week, because I'm a Lions Super Bowl, and I still think that's going to happen. I'm definitely bullish on the Lions. But when I saw that early bye, I was concerned. I'm like, damn, why did they get the early bye? I'd rather have late, kind of heal up late, get that train going. But my goodness, who needs to buy more than the Detroit Lions right now? They need to figure a bunch of stuff out, and they've got a bunch of injuries that they need to get fixed. Laporta, like Herbert, a warrior. He's playing through some stupid ass injuries, and he's probably hurting his end career by doing so. I hope they don't play him this week. I hope they give him that extra time. But as you say, guys want to play for Dan Campbell. I'm not underestimating the Lions here. I think people are just underestimating the Seahawks, and they're going to that point where they're saying, well, they've played an easy schedule and we're stopping there without actually looking at it a little deeper. And for me, this is just a great spot for Seattle. And until Detroit can prove to me they can stop Geno Smith in this offense, I got to go with the Seattle Seahawks here at plus 3.5. And I'll probably be on Seattle's money line come Sunday, but I'll just take a little bit of time here to watch how this line progresses. But if it still continues to go the way it's going and setting up the way it's setting up with the money, I'll be on Seattle's money line. But again, for the folks in the chat, Seattle has put up 37, 48, and 51 points against the Lions the last 3 games. Do with that information as you will.
So do you see this total going from 48 to 45.5 predicated on the Detroit Lions struggles, which have all sort of been in the second half of games? Do you think they've taken this total too low now?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you got to pay. You got to pay in this case where you got to pay it till they prove you wrong. I don't know how you can bet an under here. I can tell you, as I say, I listen to a lot of stuff, and there's just the amount of people I'm hearing say the Seattle Seahawks have played an easy schedule, and guys that I respect a lot. Kind of baffles me a little, and I'm okay taking those head-to-heads here. But yeah, I think the only way you can bet this game is over, and if it's dropping, let it drop. I can't. 37, 48, and 51 points, and it's the same Seattle offense versus the same Detroit defense. What's changed?
Oh, it's a fascinating breakdown, Bertie, going on the other side of so many of our colleagues, but dropping a great argument as to why you are doing it. And when you have the conviction to go up against colleagues, that's when I have my highest ROI, because it takes real conviction, to trust your cap when you see your colleagues that you respect on the other side. Great breakdown. Birdie on the Seahawks plus 3.5. We have in our chat Dennis and Ron on the Lions and Troy hammering the Lions. First half minus 2.5, full game minus 3.5, full game minus 4. Those are all at minus 110. Bet at different times. And then the Lions Jets money line parlay at plus 108. Now, Aaron Gaza with you on the Seahawks. You're not alone. So Dougie
Good.
Wise on Seattle plus 3.5 as well. Ziggy Balls on the Seahawks plus 3.5 and the over 46.5. Dennis Garcia says, when we start with the under 47, all Detroit games have been lined in their 50s. Their 3 games into regulation have been 2020, 2016, 2013. It's just way too high. Now down to 45.5, though. That's getting low. Low to flow. This is Sweaty Butcher said this could be a nice live over spot if we get a 7-point or less first quarter. Topset says Seattle team total over is my play. And Jared TG says, all right, Birdie, let's roll. I wanted Seattle. I'll bite. Birdie, what a tremendous job you have done on your first roll here with us. 16 games, no buys, and you hammered them all. Beautiful, beautiful job. Let's review action here. Birdie got us started with the Cowboys minus 5.5, CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards, and his banger play of the day at 10-1, Dak to throw 4 passing touchdowns. He also has a Cowboys Steelers money line parlay at plus 158. I'm on the over 45 at minus 110, and I do have an SGP in this game. I won't be tweeting it out. I will be recording it, tracking it on our live streams, but I won't be tweeting it out. I might tweet it out after. It's just for our live stream. It's just for the people who watch. So I was really strong with these SGPs. This is my first of the year. I was really strong last year. I'll see if we can carry it over. I'm only going to bet one if I feel the real need to. And I have the same thing. I'm on CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 receiving yards, CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown, a Cowboys money line, and the over 42.5. That was plus 375, and it moved to plus 350 while I was betting it, which is kind of annoying. Plus 350. Then I'm very interested in the Falcons. I've got to sit with it a little longer. The line moved towards them, appealing. Dennis Garcia played the Dallas game under. It's going to be fun. Join us Thursday night, then. It's going to be really fun stream. I'm very interested in the Bears as well. I'm going to spend more time with it. Then Birdie moved on the Vikings plus 3 at minus 121. And the Aaron Jones rushing receiving, I'm going to spend some time with, see what the number is. Troy is on the under 40 in Steelers Colts. That was a spot that I was looking at for days leading up to the Sunday's game. Didn't move on. And Birdie moved on the opposite, the over 39.5. Birdie's also on the Steelers money line at minus 121. Then we have Birdie on the Broncos plus 7.5 at minus 104. I'm very interested after his breakdown to join him. Oh, the spreadsheet play of the day is the Saints plus 2.5. Thank you for sharing that with me, Ron. Let me get that up here and locked in on that game. Here we go. There we go. Thank you, Ron, for always sharing your action with us. Spreadsheet play today, Saints plus 2.5. So then we move on after the Broncos plus 7.5 minus 104 for Birdie. I'm interested to join Troy on the under in Eagles Buccaneers. He got 45. It's not available anymore, but I'm interested. Bengals Panthers, we stayed off, but Fap win in the house about that game said it's 47 total, too low. Thinks it should be in the low 50s. That's Bengals Panthers. We stayed off that one, Fap. Birdie's on the Jaguars plus 6.5 and the Jaguars money line. Birdie came firing shots. And if you like the under in that game, which I have interest in, he thought that the Texans team total under was the way to go. And I find that appealing. I'm going to look at that a little more. And I might join him on the Jaguars. Birdie is on the Commanders plus 3.5 minus 109. And that was a really great breakdown, Birdie. And I'm very interested in joining you on that one. Troy moved on the 49ers minus 10 at minus 110. I'm on the under 40.5 in that one. That line's moving against me now. I bet the Raiders minus 110 last night. It's moving in my direction. I feel good about fading the Browns. I don't feel good about backing the Raiders. Birdie's on the under 40 at minus 109 in Chiefs Chargers. And it sounds like Herbert is going to play. And when that's official, that could move up a little bit. And then I would like to join. Troy's on the Ravens -2.5. Birdie is on the Ravens -2. And I would like to join them on that one. That's not comfortable fading the Bills. Troy's on the under 36.5 in Tennessee, Miami Dolphins. And then Birdie moved on the Seahawks +3.5, while our colleagues are on the Lions. And Troy went Lions first half -2.5, full game -3.5, full game -4, and Lions Jets money line +108. And I'm interested in the over in that one. Has it just gone too far towards the under? Popset says Steelers is my best play this week. And Dennis Garcia on the and by the way, Fab Dennis loving the under 48 in that Cincinnati game. Dennis on San Francisco -10 and Jacksonville +7. And he'll be betting the Chargers. So I'm going to copy and paste all of this action. Before I thank Birdie for the excellent work he did here, I really thank you guys in the chat so much. We have nothing without your support. Thank you very, very much for being here with us on our date change because I was sick. Thank you for joining us here on Wednesdays. Al Cervic, Jared TG, Dennis Garcia, Topset, The Sweaty Butcher, Cheshire Cat, Kent Davies, Blue Numbers, Ron Crawford, Jared TG, Jermaine. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Al Cervic, you always support us. It means so much. Thank you. Markel, Stack and Cream, Dougie Wise. Thank you, guys. Truly, thank you. Aaron Gaza, Saturated, Tacky JP. Thank you, guys. Truly, truly, thank you. Rants. Great group. Young Native Tino, RVD 420, DC Capper, Benjamin Mills, Gordon Kofsky, Young Native Tino. We can't do it without you guys. Sammy Calmer. Thank you, guys. Remos, of course, I'm back in business Thursday mornings, Friday mornings, betting with the bag back in business. Sweaty Butcher also saying that he's loving that under in the Steelers game. I let that go, and I'm going to let that go. When I sit there and stay away from something for so long, I got to trust why I stayed away. A huge thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, works tirelessly behind the scenes to make all these shows look so good. And he does it with, a great mentality. Like, he's so much fun to work with. It's not, I can ask him to do something at 2 a.m. Like, he's just a colleague that I respect very much, and I'm very thankful to work with. And Birdie, what a spectacular job you did here, my friend. Thank you for filling in for Troy Torrence. You did it with aplomb, a spectacular job. And I believe in you so much as a capper, and I love that we had this 3-hour experience of breaking down each and every game. Very, very enjoyable. Everybody in the chat watching, can you please go over to Birdie Bets and follow him on X right now? I'm going to put his Twitter handle in the chat. Please support our guy. He asks for nothing in return, and he's just such a class act on camera and off. And I'm going to pop his handle. Please, if you don't follow him, do that right now and follow our friend Birdie Bets. Birdie, excellent work, my friend. Any last words for the cappers supporting the show?
Oh, it's the best chat in the world. All these guys are beauties. But I want to end this as I started it. This is a bucket list thing for me. I love the show. It's a huge part of my process. I get a lot out of it every week. I've only missed a handful of these since Bebsy. This is a big part of my process every week. And I'm very, very big on routine and process. It's kind of something I've learned as I went along. And it's just been an absolute pleasure doing this with you, Jimmy. As I said, this is a bucket list thing for me. I'm trying to get into the content stuff as we move forward. As you know, I have about a 5-year plan here. Retirement's coming in a few years. So it's just all kind of snowballing till then. And I just really appreciate the opportunity. And hopefully I brought some value and we can get some wins here for the great group in the chat. Ron Crawford, Dennis, Al, you're all just beauties. Big show. Appreciate y'all. And I couldn't end this without let's get that money. Love you, Jimmy.
Love you, man.